Good morning. Good morning. This morning, I'm going to be talking about the halftime ritual show. Good morning. Good morning. Candace in the house. There's Candace. So, I need to check my sound really quick. I got a mic and check. How does the sound sound? Does the sound sound okay? Check. All right. Cool. All right. So this morning, I know you guys see all the stuff happening all over the web again, and oh, damn it all. It's a lot. So this morning, what I want to do is I want to take, roughly an hour or an hour and a half, and I want to introduce the media code of ethics into our community, sort of as a bare bones architecture, pardon me, for for a foundation, a starting point, something, because I think that there's an awful lot of channels. Happy Valentine's, Meg. I think that it's important to have some sort of, some sort of instrument that can help us, a compass to stay, headed in the right direction. So, what I've done is I've found a video that, in my opinion, relays the code of ethics in the most efficient layman's way. So it's about time. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump into the ethics portion of what I wanted to do today. I'm going to cover a couple of other things as well, but for right now, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to cover this. So, sorry, I didn't get a holder and I kind of got the microphone just right here. So I'll get it straightened out. But I've had many people complain about the sound, saying that, with the different people that come over, that there's too much differential between the sound, so they can't set their sound on, if they set it on the loudest and they can't hear the lowest. So I'm going to try to pick that up in terms of that quality, because I want everyone to be able to listen at work if that's what they want to do, without having to adjust the volume or hurry up and throw the earphones out. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and let me put a gate on this microphone really quick. We're gonna go there. Echo cancellation. Okay, we're good. All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. This is Channel 5. This is an Indian outlet, but what I like about the code of ethics is that the media code of ethics is universal law, right? It's sort of like music and numbers. It's that a media code of ethics. You see all sorts of different journalists come to war zones and natural disaster zones, and everyone has that same. It's very spoken code of ethics for for how you should handle yourself when it comes to um, reporting things. And that's essentially what we are, like some of us anyhow. If we were to derive our content based on these laws of ethics, these media laws and ethics, I do believe it would be a much more fluent and helpful community. So I'm going to go ahead and start.
In the studies of mass communication today in this episode, we'll be deliberating on a topic which is not only important but relevant for our day-to-day work, either in the professional field or in the academia as well. And I believe that this is a topic which should be deliberated well during the student days so that when you join either the media profession or media academics, you'll be able to deliver them pretty well. Let me now tell you the topic. It is journalistic ethics and professional morality. Friends, ethics is...
Now, this is the thing. I think most of us know that a lot of these things that you're going to hear, they're not specific to just when you're carrying yourself as a professional reporter or someone in the media. You want to be taken seriously. You want to have the people that come to retain and obtain knowledge from you. You want it to be factual and actual. So these things won't only just benefit you on YouTube as a creator or as someone that's involved. You don't have to be a creator to be an activist or an advocate, but it will, if some of us could adhere to some of these things, it'll make the process a lot more comfortable for everyone. And I think that it's important to point out that our comfortability shouldn't be first. It should be the victims and the families of victims that should have that comfortability. Our comfortability should come far, far down the line because we are subjecting ourselves to these situations so that we can be involved, and then we sort of take out the toll that we encounter, the things that we encounter going through, like the depression, the compassion fatigue. There's many things that us that cover these things go through ourselves. So, it's how to identify that you have, for instance, this isn't going to be covered, but, how to identify that you're compassion fatigued. When you become compassion fatigued, you're going to come here and potentially, as a creator, take out your pent up aggressions and things. You want to take that out on whoever's closest, and a lot of times that ends up being the people that are that are wearing the hat of the victim, right? I.e., what we've seen, perpetrated on the Wells. So
something which we all are supposed to perform and follow. As we know that each profession has a professional ethics, like the doctors, engineers, chartered accountants, and so the journalist should be having one such. Every profession, there are certain things, certain norms, certain benchmarks, certain things to be followed, which are traditional and which are good for the society. Media is placed, as a fourth estate. In a democracy, we have three others like legislature, executive, and judiciary. Now, media has been placed along with that as a fourth estate in a democracy. So, try to imagine the kind of prestige, the kind of status given to media, and that means what are the role as a watchdog of democracy?
Now, we also have a responsibility as a watchdog to true crime. What we are doing is we are handling, and in this case, and a lot of us, we choose to specialize on, the abductions or disappearances of children, which, in my opinion, you have to handle that material and that data and information much more sensitively than you would, you know, an adult. Let's just be quite honest. It's you know, there seems to be that age old perception of like the Titanic going down. You want, you know, the women and the children and the old first, and then, you know, than men. So there is sort of that predisposed ideology that that we're to look after and have more stringent standards for certain things.
The media is supposed to play. Now, if you yourself or we ourselves in the media are not ethical, then how do we point fingers on others? So
now that's an interesting aspect. That's one that you don't, of course, see in the media. You're not going to see Tom Brokaw, you know, tearing up Rosie O'Donnell. That's just not. They have an ethics, right? You're not. You know, you didn't see Dan Rather going at, you know, whoever. So that sort of dynamic is specific to YouTube. And I think that sort of back and forth is what separates us from more credible and legitimate outlets. You know, I do believe also at the same time that in this strange environment, you know, there's AB said it last night on one of his streams I was listening to. He said that everyone here likes to swim, but they don't want to swim in the ocean with sharks. And that really it rung true, because it's like, yeah, you can apply that metaphorically, you know, to a lot of people in this community, right? They want to do this, that, or the third, and then you know, when it happens to them, they have no insight and ability to identify the character flaws in themselves. So unfortunately, because there are no policing sort of entities other than reporting tools here on YouTube, I do believe that what we need to see is a turn where we have, you know, a greater umbrella of ethics. Right now, you'll never be able to stop, in my opinion, you'll never be able to stop the content on content creator on creator sort of situations, and in a funny, it's not funny, in an interesting aspect and dynamic, a certain portion of the base meaning of the tit for tat or the picking on, like that a lot of times is to try to correct behaviors, but they go, you know, way overboard. So then you get a lot of the pointing the finger thing, and I think ultimately what it is that we need to have a higher entity, which is not going to be one person or a group of people. It's going to be an ideology that we all adhere to.
Just follow the ethics first so that we deliver it well. Now, the basic reason that media has to follow ethics is not that the other professions also have to follow, but it is because of the very fact that media is going to the public at large in no time, that is instantly and directly. So I'm talking to you and it is directly going on air, and in case it is live, there's nobody to check. And in case of print also, it goes to the public at large, which even the government also cannot. It is only the media which is a direct connectivity, instant connectivity to a large number of people of the country. So we have to be extra cautious.
Extra cautious. We all have a responsibility we all have a responsibility to be cautious, not just to the community at large, but to specifically, for instance, Candace Wells, who's in the chat, Don Wells, who's not in the chat, but Summer and the boys, and whoever. See, we have an architecture. We want to build a comfortable, safe, soft landing, a place where, you know, victims can come and, you know, really receive awareness on all the creators' channels, you know, making a collective push towards getting the answers that the family and law enforcement, and that we as the true crime community, that we desire.
But media does not only go straight to the public, its impact is irreversible. Suppose I present something wrong and some effect is generated which is irreparable, irreversible.
It's irreparable and irreversible, especially in terms of the web. In different times, different technologies, things hung around differently. Now, it's just, you put it out there, it's there forever. So there should be a very real responsibility that we hold ourselves to report the media or the actual things that we've learned and encountered. We would want to report those to the people that depend on us to report things to them. We ought to report it to them like we're reporting it to our own children, right? Like you, if your child is of driving age and asks you for directions how to get somewhere, you don't want to give them bad information. You don't want them to get lost. You don't want them to find themselves, in a place that they can't navigate, right? So that's sort of, I think, boiled down, that's what should qualify us, right? We should be chasing the need, not the want, the need to relay this information in the most actual, factual light that's available.
So I can say sorry later, but the fault or the problem which has erupted out of it would have been erupted by that time. So it also helps in making public opinion. So any wrong thing being given, the public opinion at large will be formed on the basis of that wrong. So it's not only me.
Correct. It will be formed on the basis of the wrong, right? So, for instance, this is not poking fun at anybody, but let's, for instance, talk about the bones, right? So when you put out information that is inaccurate about, for instance, high value topics like remains, when you do that, a public opinion is formed not only on the situation, but also the messenger, right? It's kind of the age-old homage, don't kill the messenger, don't shoot the messenger. Well, that doesn't apply here. We all are exempt from that, because even if you come here, and you're delivering information in media as an outlet, you have the real responsibility. And I'll tell you what, I didn't know isn't a valid excuse for why we put out things that don't need to be out there and that absolutely should not be out there.
Who will be at fault? It will be a large number of people, because they are wrongly informed, they will opine wrongly, which will be detrimental to the society. Now, this strength of instantly and immediately going directly to the public gives us the strength and also gives us more.
Now, that is an issue in terms of, it isn't an issue really in terms of your mainstream media. Everything, even though it may be live, is still for the most part scripted. The things that are the variables are the things in the public that could happen, or whatever. But on scenes, things that happen live, when they're pre-recorded, there's that extra buffer to make sure that the quality control is there. See, we don't take on a responsibility. We don't even take the terms of service here seriously. So without even taking the basic terms of service seriously, there's no way that you could dig deeper into into that emotion or that ideology of what keeps someone on the straight and narrow when it comes to relaying information.
Or responsibility we should undertake. Now, basically, what do we understand by the ethical responsibility of media? There's basically three things. One is objective. We have to be objective in disseminating.
First one, your objective is to relay information, and it's also it's a responsibility, right? The objective one is that your media be based on material facts and figures, which also represent stats, numbers, right? So those two things together, you cannot refute You cannot refute fact and you cannot refute numbers. So when those two things together are available in an objective, then you come with media that is impossible to refute unless the material facts or figures are skewed and you had no way to source origin them. Even then, pretty much everything is available to be fact checked and source origined.
News and information. That means it has to be based on material facts and figures, especially in the news and current affairs, because when there is no chance of fiction, it has to be based on material facts and figures. It has to be true, it has to be objective. Now, it has to be fair when we present it. That means it has to have a fair presentation of facts. It has to be transparent, that we don't have any hidden agenda. And between the lines, we don't want to pitch something else.
Hidden agenda and pitching something else. That is essentially, that is the motive, and that's the modus operandi here. You get that a lot in the recording. These undisclosed recordings. Sometimes they're second party, first party, whatever, third party in some states. These recording of phone calls, this relaying of tips from subscribers and other creators, without having had run it by the TBI or giving the TBI sufficient time in order to cover the lead. There are many things that happened here that are extreme derelictions of duty.
It's a straightforward presentation of facts and figures. Now, it has to be balanced. If there are
First of all, and this is the thing. What do we know about trying to provide help? Well, we know we can't help anyone. All we can do is provide the outlet and say, this is the portal into the help, right? Now, these things are all great. Individually and collectively, they are all great. But these things mean nothing if the creator does not hold the want. If the creator does not possess the want to relay all of their information with these constraints, with these restraints, in my opinion, you really don't have any business being here. These cases are not situations where only the strong survive. And that's what it turns into on YouTube. You have scenarios where larger channels or, channels that are capable and ready and wait to go over the line of decency. I myself find myself, tiptoeing that line, and a lot of times just extremely in a very wanton way, breaching that. So it's a strange dynamic here.
Multiple bodies or different people, different opinion. We need to present all the opinion possible together to our people, to the reader, viewer, and listener, so that they can form a concerted opinion on the basis of the views of all sides of the people or all sections available to them. So making the views of all the sections relevant to a particular news item.
Now, yeah.
Available to the public is our duty. So it has to be balanced, like government and opposition, like there are two bodies fighting each other. So
now it's in this scenario, in our scenario, the way that we adhere this principle to us is that even though there's two bodies, you're always going to have two bodies. You're going to have the people that support and dictate due process, guilt before or innocence before guilt, to their portions of the community, and those who are more boisterous about, picking a suspect. I think that what the due diligence and the responsibility here is that both parties have to promote due process. That's just the way it is. We cannot operate physically, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally in communities where we rely on due process, right? In our real lives, we rely on the fact that if the neighbor, breaks into your car and steals your stereo, that when you call the police and he gets caught, like, and you go to court to testify, like, you want to hope that due process works good in your life then, right? Many of us here in the community have been victims of crimes. If it weren't for the very due process that we breach against the Wells, that was so important in our life for us to get our justice for the crimes committed against us. But we have a complete block and inability to empathetically turn that for someone else. We want to keep it selfishly only for ourselves. We want to hog the advocacy, and that's not right.
There are two agencies, so both the sides we have to give, and there are multiple sides we have to give, the versions of all the versions, as we call in our day-to-day media parlance. Now, friends, we have been told during our college or university days that when we studied journalism, is that fact is sacred, comments are free. Yeah.
Do you get that? Facts are sacred. Comments are for free. That, in my opinion, how as a creator, what's beautiful about that is that if you are involved in interacting, if you're involved with interacting with your audience, then as a creator, what you need to realize is that comments are for free, right? I know a lot of us as creators, we find ourselves focusing in on, one comment, for instance. Hold on. Sorry. We find ourselves focusing in on one comment, not realizing that always, if it's a comment that gets under our skin, it's going to be opinion based. You can't argue and bicker over a fact. So the only argument about fact is getting someone to the point where they have discovered that what the conversation is actually about is fact. Okay. So hold on one second. There we go. Okay.
Yes, this is true. The mantra, which was,
remember, comments are free. Everybody has one. We shouldn't all be able to express them, but protect the facts. And I guess one way that we can do that as creators is that, we have a responsibility to the comment sections and to the chats, so that comments that are completely biased and in no way actual or factual need to be eliminated, so that they don't stand the test of time with a video that potentially may be misinformed
followed in the
or unaligned.
traditional media practice. And I believe that this is still relevant, and it will be relevant till the media exists and media gets a very high position in the society. Changes are taking place, I'll come to that. But basically, in disseminating news, this is the mantra that objectively, without giving any personal perception, we have to present the facts and figures as it happened to our audience. Now, what is happening is television throughout the day disseminates news. So any news has already been given by television before the day ends. Now, next morning, when you're giving this to the same person who was the viewer till last evening, now he is the reader of a newspaper. Now, if you give the same thing, he may not like it. So you have to give something plus.
You following that? Now, that's in terms of trying to propagandize your audience, in my opinion. Okay? I don't always, this is to keep a continuous stream between your visual and your script, which we don't really have a whole lot of scripted stuff we do unless it's in our community posts or in our descriptions or whatever. But I don't necessarily believe that in the way I deliver my media, I don't believe that I always have to give more. I believe that if there isn't more, you ought not create it. If there isn't more, then you just go back to the last time you had more and relay that until there is more. What you want to do is you want to keep impressing upon the people that watch the facts and the stats, right?
From this, the contemporary scenario is that the kind of reporting which is known as interpretative reporting, investigative reporting, analytical reporting, which have come and which follows a concept of modern journalism, which is known as narrative journalism, where the collection of information and cross-checking of information is totally journalistic, and presentation is like a fiction, a short story, novel, so that the excitement is there till the end. But it is not a fiction at all. It is based on material facts and figures and information.
Material facts, figures, and information. That's what we have to focus on. What I see a lot of is people that do not even possess material facts and figures at all, right? And so they will do things that become high notes, keynotes that you can remember, whether they be good, bad, or indifferent, right? These become high notes that become the focal point of our investigations at the moment, right? What happens is that when we see, for instance, we see bones on the ground, we automatically, as a YouTube unqualified, unprofessional, non-ethic holding creators, we see bones and we automatically go to the most nefarious ideology that we can fantasize. When in fact, to be responsible is to first go to the path of least resistance, which is what makes the most sense to you logically, right? Based upon everything you can touch, taste, smell, hear, see, all of it, right? You don't just look at something on the ground and say, well, it's here, it's close to that, it's got to be this. You have to, you're trying to immediately exclude the idea that it is what your wildest imagination thinks it is. Just because our wildest imagination thinks this could be this, what our due diligence and our code of ethics says is that until you have factual, material facts or figures and information, you can't say what you think this is. Not responsibly. Now, if you are a creator that doesn't wish to adhere to this journalistic ethics and professional morality, it's not really a scenario. PayPal gang. It's not really a scenario that this isn't for you. Thank you, beautiful. Thank you, Miss Rebecca. It's not a scenario. This isn't for you, right? Like, we have to, as adults, be able to draw the line and say, okay, I get it. I'm smart enough to understand, that look at it in your real life, right? Pick on the neighbor and then see how the neighbor reacts in real time, right? And then you'll be able to base how just a regular, normal North American neighbor might react when you poke him all the time. And know that you can take from that and bring it into the YouTube and know that when you poke people, how they react, right? So the real responsibility, only report media based on material facts, figures, and information. If you don't have one or all of them, you do not have enough to come here and discuss it.
But presentation is like a short story so that you enjoy reading it. Now, these are the interpretative, analytical, investigative, leave more scope for comments, but we have to understand that when analyzing, we have to analyze objectively, giving all versions probable so that the audience can make their own mind. Now, television, if you think of the media per se, till the other day, it was totally objective. News as it happens, news when it happens. That was the practice, that things were shot and then presented before the audience. But now, thanks to the development of digital technology, you have something called hot switching through the DSNG, the digital satellite news gathering, which means that the anchor is asking questions from the studio and the reporter is there on the spot answering to the questions. Now, in this process of conversation, which is brought live to the audience, what happens is the reporter answers with his own perception and with the perception of the channel he or she works. So now there is a lot of perception orientation coming on air, which was earlier not possible because the technology was not there. Now, with the advent of new technology, which has made this hot switching, the live conversation between the actor in the studio and the reporter at the spot possible, is making this shift.
Now, we see this a little bit on YouTube, and what it looks like is it ends up looking like, let's say, for instance, you've got Benny and Penny on a live together. What it ends up looking like is, you have the host, and then you've got the sort of co-anchor, and you're getting that bouncing of materials, and you're getting the bouncing of ideas off one another, much in the same fashion and dynamic that he's referring to now, that the studio reporter and the field reporter. That's sort of a dangerous dynamic, right? Because what you're doing is you're essentially breaking from the, what do we got here? PayPal gang. Oh, wait. Somebody is
requesting money back.
Requesting money.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know. Okay. Now, when you have the studio in-field situation, what you do have is you have a scenario where you have an investigative question by the studio counterpart who's asking his colleague or her colleague in the field what's happening, and then what's relayed back is the perception and opinionated data from the reporter, right? So there is a real responsibility to have a reporter in the field that has a due diligence to have a professional non-biases. That's how you say it. That's bias plural. Biases. It's not biases. It's biases. No, it's biases.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's the correct enunciation. Anyhow, you have to have a respected and completely legitimate field reporter in order to make that dynamic work in a way that is conducive to getting answers for a family.
In the content that which was earlier totally objective, and now it is views of the reporter, perception of the reporter.
Let me fact check that. Somebody told me I was stupid because they're like, "Oh yeah, I bet he reads a dictionary." And then a lot of people were like, "Yeah, that's called studying." The plural of bias. Biases. Yes, I was correct. Biases. Here we go.
So this change, the technology has driven it to the point.
I want to point out that usually our morning sessions here, we'll have anywhere between 500 and 800. When we're talking about ethics and professionalism here, look what we got. Nobody wants to know how you can make this community better. Nobody cares.
Yeah, we have to be a little.
I should not say nobody because that is a complete exaggeration. 314 of you care about how to make this thing better.
Careful on this. Now, in the print also, there are new trends or new arrivals, which we all know, that advertorials, which the material-wise, content-wise is advertising, but appearance-wise it's news. So there should not be a camouflage if it is advertorial that somebody...
Indian accent, so hard to follow.
Is it?
Yes.
I'm grabbing them up. Well, I also got the, I have the...
you have the subtitles?
Yeah, the subtitles jamming out. Yes, I care. I actually care. Like, this is what... Guess what? Let's just say we all were born into YouTube June 15th, 2021, the day Summer Moon Utah Wells went missing. That means we're all only 9 months old, roughly. This should have been day one. We should have all walked into this. We should have signed our channels. And then, you know what they do? They'll make you go through a copyright class if you get caught stealing videos, huh, Trisha? They'll make you do a copyright class. Why would they not make you go through a code of ethics and morality, right? Especially if you're genre specific. Like if you're in a hip hop community and you're sharing music, like there's no need for that to be fact based. And so those folks that generalize to specific genres that don't matter if the opinion is widespread, it doesn't affect anything. Here, man, y'all can listen. We're talking about anything and everything right now, right? If the moderators feel like at this time they don't want that to go on, like that's cool, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
He has bought that space. It has to be written properly. And then the concept of paid news, which we all know that during mostly the elections, a particular newspaper is paid to write in favor of a particular candidate, so that
now this is going to apply to us looking ass. Benny's back looking ass. When you're paid to write in favor of a particular agenda, we can remove candidate here for our purposes. But when you are, in fact, paid, YouTube pays, and the subs pay, subscribers and supporters pay for a particular point of view or for a particular creator based upon, based upon a history or, what you provide. There's many reasons for people. Bev McGee. No, it said you were trying to request money. That's what it said. It said you tried to request money. I'm not sure what was going on.
his probability of his winning increases, and the audience knows about only the.
There you go. When certain creators are money motivated to push an agenda, what you see happen is the agenda wins. And the winning of the agenda and the propaganda increases, right? That's what we're seeing.
This candidate totally shedding the other candidate and other rivals. So there has been deliberations by the Press Council of India. The cognizance has been taken by the Election Commission of India. There has been a guideline. So this is something which one has to be careful that the new entrants, which is not in conformity with the ethical standards, but they are there, and one has to be very careful. Now, media partnership. A lot of events are being partnered to a particular media, and the hype is created, and out of proportion praise or something like this.
Hype is created and out of proportion praise. Out of proportion praise. So when you get a hype that's created, say for instance the bones, you get a hype that's created around some bones. It creates an electric environment in which people are moving and they're looking and they're subscribing and they're chatting and maybe the money isn't rolling, like quite yet. Right. So what happens is the hype is created. And then because there wasn't a due diligence to fact check and figure check the information, once it's shot down, it crashes. And when it crashes, there's these low hanging fruit emotions that makes it really easy for people to pay because someone seems downtrodden about making a mistake. There are many different angles, especially on the YouTube, to use a downtrodden emotion or a very negative personal situation to then accrue money. It's just the dynamics of it.
Yeah. Now, due to some business reasons.
And now I'll tell you that here it's a strange dynamic, because a lot of times if there are supporters of yours that have an ill feeling about another creator, once that creator jumps out of their body online and your favorite creator grabs a hold to that information and does what Benny does so well, there's many people that do what I do well. And part of that dynamic ends up being that people, they want to stay in that stream of information, or that good feeling that they're getting from watching this stuff. They'll pay monetarily, and it is what it is. And I hate using, because nobody pays me. I heard someone else say that, and it crept into my mind. I get donations for my time, my research, my ability to dictate to my supporters factual, actual, stat-based stuff. That's our goal here, right? My goal from the beginning was to adhere to something much like this, which these things are commonalities in being adults. These are the regular standard issue tools you get when you come into adulthood. And essentially it all stems around being honest and being factual. You could just remove that and just put factual, because when you're speaking facts, there's no room for a lie or deceit or inaccuracy.
Since these things have come in, but definitely as a reader, as a viewer, as a listener, we have to be careful about it. And the private treaties that I cover a particular business organization, and the media organization gets some benefit in which in way of shares and etc.
Now, private treaties also work in the historical sense of what a treaty is. You could create a treaty before a war. You could also create a treaty while a war is happening, or after a war you create a treaty. So these treaties, depending on the genre of the treaty, you do and have seen situations where creators or a creator will get into a lane where they are creating these negative sort of happenstances online, so as to be to be compensated for it, whether it be in praise, views, donations. There's many ways that you can motivate creators to do certain things. Now, what I'm currently involved in right now is a treaty session. I am trying to, and really Penny is the general. I'm just the lead. You know what I mean? So, she had a better ability to articulate how I thought and be able to put it into words that other people can understand, because I get to be passionate about having these treaties. And to me, it is amazing, because what comes with a treaty is automatically this release of resentment. And for me, in my life, as an addict, an ex-addict, an addict that's always trying to stay recovered. I'm not in recovery, I'm recovered. I'm trying to stay recovered. I don't want to smash my vehicle, my vessel, right? I don't want no scratches, no dings, no nothing, right? So you don't see that in so many other creators. A lot of other creators are just looking for something to smash their vehicle into so that they can have help from the public in repairing it.
These things that come in the media, these things will first have to be identified and has to be taken with a pinch of salt. There must be a caution.
Or a punch. Either way. Pinch, punch, tomato, forget about it.
From the side of the audience. Now, why these are happening? You see, we have given on one side a very high status of a fourth estate. The media has been given in the democratic polity.
This is going to be important as well. Pay attention, creators, if you're catching it now or you're going to catch it later. This is important. Ownership. Ownership isn't just the fact that you own it. Ownership also relates to you being responsible for it once it leaves your hand, right? Could be your baseball, and could be you pitch it to your son and he hits your ball through your window. You have a responsibility for the ball after it leaves your hand, because the way that it bounces and deflects and gets whacked by stuff in the real world is still your responsibility, right? When your child goes out in the world as a minor and cuts up on good folks' money, which is usually yours, always yours, in some and in most situations, you are going to be held responsible for that. So it's much that same ideology. Once you create a piece of media, it has to be based in factual, actual statistics, right? Things that can't be refuted or changed, right? When you report those things, the only thing you're subjected to in terms of being wrong is miscalculations or, issues from the source origin, which you would go back and say, listen, the stats or the science said this, and then there was an issue. Something was corrupted. Something, wasn't calculated correctly. Usually that is going to pertain to human involvement, right? A machine runs like a machine until you put a human in charge of it.
What is the media ownership? By and large, greatly it is private, and private means, and it is a big business.
This is in no way directed at Ziggy at all. I'm only using the ideology of the bones as a keynote, and a really a failure, not of Ziggy, but of the community. Because as a community, once we start adhering and we create sort of a union of creators that all feel this same way, it then becomes our job to make sure that the rest of the platoon is up to par, right?
Now, you yourself cannot run a small community newspaper or a small community media. That's a different issue altogether.
You see that? You yourself cannot. And we see all of us fail because we cannot individually run these channels responsibly. It's impossible. There's too many people, right? Too many soldiers, not too many lieutenants, not enough soldiers.
But the mainstream media is big, operationally big. It's a big business, big industry. Otherwise, it will not survive. So big industry, big business has certain business norms like profit maximizing. So if we go, what is
profit maximizing? We know profit maximizing is multi-angular as well, right? Profit maximizing agenda. You're either pushing the most nefarious thing, if you're on the one, because we know there's two sides, right? In our community, you've got due process, anti-due process. So with the two sides of the profit maximizing, what you get is you get these spikes, right? And what happens is usually is the nefarious side will do something very nefarious. And so the other side has to really rebut and do much, much work in order to offset what the other side with the less responsible agenda can create. The more responsible people now have a greater job, and that greater job isn't to just try to help get answers for the family. Now it is also involved in regulating and policing the other side, which is not our job. We're here to be policing ourselves.
For profit maximization. And definitely the business agenda and the media houses may have political agenda in supporting a particular political party. So these are the things which have come in. But we have to remember one thing, that yes, media is a consumer product to some extent, but it is a social good too. It's not like any other consumer product. And even in other consumer products also, we see that the
PayPal gang, 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 bang. Beverly, gang, gang. I love you, lovely. I love you like a fat kid loves cake. Looking ass. You know, guys, I apologize for being on a different emotional thread, because this is this needs to be taken very seriously. And you know what? I see the numbers dropping off, and I think that that's fabulous. In fact, after kind of processing while going through this, what I thought about having a huge audience was going to mean more awareness, right? I rather get it in front of intelligent eyes. I'd rather have 5 intelligent people have a takeaway from this than, 500 people watch it and Cash App gang, 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 bang. Who we got here? Oh, it's my sister from another mister. She was a little bit closer. I would have kissed her. Love you. Love you, Brandy. Gang, gang, sweetie. Thank you.
Standards have to be kept, and transparency have to be maintained. So here also, I believe that ethical standards will have to be maintained, definitely. Otherwise, the society will reject, however big you are.
Now, in our community, it doesn't work that way. Transparency isn't the keynote or the mission statement for most Cash App gang, 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 bang. I just scared the shit out of my mom looking ass.
I think I'd be used to that.
You would think so, but not yet. Who we got here? JW. Thank you, beautiful. JW Designs. Thank you so much, beautiful. I'm glad you're here and you're involved in this, because more, I'm glad more people aren't here to disrupt what we got going on, but I certainly hope that a lot of the creators will take this and share this, sort of unspokenly saying that by sharing it, that you adhere to this sort of, YouTube Geneva Code, Geneva Convention, right? We put these victims through war. And then we put ourselves through war and our families through war, trying to be somebody to the YouTube. And it's, most people are just trying to be something to YouTube. I'm trying to be something to victims.
We're in a war, or you put them through hell or war, and then you leave them with no skills on how to repair themselves.
That's it. And then when they reach out for the only thing that they know can give them a little bit of comfort right now, which is money, you slander them.
Or drugs or alcohol.
Right. It's an easy crutch, right? I mean, the devil's in the details. Hoo-ah.
Yes, what I can think of is a self-restraint. First, as I told you, that
self-restraint. Let's do a little vocab here, because we're really breaking it down. Definition for self-restraint. Self-control. It's just a synonym of self-control. Restraint imposed by one's self on one's own actions. Right? It's like the brakes on your car. Right? Like a lot of these creators, remember I just talked about, looking for somewhere to crash your vessel into so you can get sympathy, or somewhere to crash your car into. Like in real life, we don't want to crash. We don't want to be a crash test dummy in real life. Right? That's just, I just put that on the blower yesterday. Yes, brand new battery. So we've got, in a car even, guess what? We've got 5 brakes, one on each 4 corners. And then an emergency brake if all else fails, right? Like that's what we need to start, imploring ourselves with the ideology that it's okay to have a restraint. It's okay to not be the first person to put something on YouTube until it's fact sourced. Really a failure, not of Ziggy, but of the
in the media schools, when you are studying in your graduation or masters, we must deliberate on media ethics so that it instills in you. And when you go on a deliverable stage, automatically whatever you deliver, it will be ethical. So I prefer a lot of deliberations, a lot of discussions on media ethics during the media school days, because once you join the profession, it may not be possible because you will be chasing news and news.
Big. Pay attention.
This is something, and which the ethical discussions, deliberations will tell you that what does self-restraint mean and what you should not do and where do you stop. What is the Lakshman Rekha? Nobody else will tell you.
Where do you stop? Where is the boundary, right? Now, self-restraint, to expound a little bit further in how I think of self-restraint. To have self-restraint means nothing if you have no boundaries, right? You first must have boundaries, and then you can have a self-restraint, right? Until someone in your life creates a boundary, then you know where to apply the brakes at. You know where the stop sign is, right? So if there's no boundaries in a creator's chat, comments, or in media in general, it means there's no brakes on the vessel, right? And I think that we all have a real responsibility that when we can identify creators that have no boundaries and no brakes, the best thing to do, unfortunately, is to not perpetuate it and to not listen to it.
This is the Lakshman Rekha. You yourself will be able to evolve the Lakshman Rekha, which is invisible but followed to the end.
The Rekha is there. It's over there.
The best practice is one of the self-restraint methods that we see what others are doing. The ethical practice, whether we question ourselves, is it ethical or not? And no unnecessary media hype. We have to be objective, balanced, fair, and no unnecessary sensationalization. We all suffer from
no unnecessary sensationalization. Now, in terms, what could that be? We'll go back to the bones. The bones were unnecessarily sensationalized because it was more or less confirmed between the parties before that what it appeared to be online was already sort of agreed upon in life, in reality, that it wasn't that. So it was very unnecessarily sensationalized. Much like certain aspects of the reward stuff. It's unnecessarily sensationalized. It's more of helping the old lady with the groceries across the busy street because you want to be seen helping the old lady, not really because it's in your heart to help the old lady. Cash App gang, gang, bang. Who we got in the house? Michelle. Thank you, Miss Michelle. Love you, beautiful. Thank you so much.
From the sensationalization because of business reasons, because of catching more eyeballs, because of increasing our readership.
There you go. We unnecessarily sensationalize when we're trying to catch more eyeballs and increase our readership, which ultimately, what means more views and more money, right? So it goes hand in hand.
Attention, drawing attention. It's a survival also, but again, that Lakshman Rekha, we must know where to stop. We have certain laid down ethics, and I'll go slow so that whoever watching this program can take down which are the standard code of ethics available for the journalist and media persons. And one is of the Press Council of India. On several occasions, generally and issue-wise, like how to cover HIV/AIDS, how to cover riots, how to cover.
Right. So what he's saying is that when we create a boundary for ourselves, this is my interpretation. Now, you're very welcome to interpret it any way you like. But in my opinion, when you're handling situations, right, you're not going to handle a murder situation like you are an abduction situation, right? So knowing that the situations are different, you have to handle the sensitive issues, right? You're not going to handle it the same as a child's case. I mean, there's even more stringent guidelines and details in terms of dealing with, adult crimes and child crimes. And so there has to be the ability to change gears. You have to be able to kick it into four-wheel when you need to, or just put it on cruise control and, catch the top end. You have to be able to change and morph with the agenda that you're, the factual, actual, and based on stats and science agenda that you're trying to project.
Election, the Press Council of India has come up with several codes of ethics, which are there in their website and in their their publications. Then Editors Guild, the organization of the editors of the newspapers, they have also come up with a code of ethics, which is also very good and relevant.
Now, guild. If anyone's not familiar with what a guild is, let's check that out. Now, a guild it's such a powerful word that it's from the medieval times, but it still stands today. And you'll hear that in the media arts, in acting, in writing, music, songwriters guilds, comedic guilds. It's an association or a union of craftsmen, merchants, content creators, often some of us having considerable power, or an association of people for mutual aid or the pursuit of a common goal. So I do believe that we are quickly approaching in on a time where if we do not have a guild of some sort, if we don't have a collective of content creators that are going to enforce in some way, whichever way we deem necessary, a guild in which we can, have our own sort of judicial system in a sense, right? Like, I don't know what that looks like, but we shouldn't even have to go that far. Maybe education is key. You think?
We have All India Radio Program Code and Advertising Code, which is followed by Doordarshan and several other television organizations, which are not very big, but point-wise, it tells us that what are to be followed. And then the private news operators.
Let me. I want to touch on that. I surf the YouTube in the morning time. I search first the smaller channels because I come to find that a lot of the smaller channels, when they're trying to get started, and hopefully it remains continuous, but a lot of the smaller channels, they really have, they're on a mission to report facts. I mean, I think that's how we all come in. We all want to be in a culture and an environment where we're pushing facts, because we believe when we start that's the thing that's going to set us all apart. It's going to set us apart from the spread. But then you have this financial motivation and this unnecessary want to sensationalize things in order to build the numbers, right? So the numbers essentially are to stroke an ego if you're not monetized, or in some situations it's to stroke an ego. Other times it's to get to the point where you can monetize, and you can be part of the e-commerce, the e-commercing of Summer Wells, or whichever case is applicable at the time.
Television, the News Broadcasters Association, they also have a code of ethics. They are basically on news television. The other entertainment television, the body is Indian Broadcasting Federation. They also have a code of ethics. And Advertising Standards Council of India, the apex body of the advertisers, they also have a code of ethics, which is strictly.
Now, I'd also like to mention that a lot of times when it comes to guilds and organizations that are media, pro media, a lot of times other countries have more efficient and less biased coverage of our own coverage than we can give ourselves, if that makes sense. It's sort of the American filter, right? Americans can only report it as an American, whereas someone else from the international community, such as Al Jazeera, or you take your pick, News One. That I think it's News One or One News. There are some. Hold on one second. What are some more gray examples of sensationalism? Some more gray examples of sensationalism, let's say in terms of the Wells case, would be the reporting on the DV situation. It was unnecessary fluff to sensationalize the DV when there actually wasn't any action taken. So what really happened in that light is a light where WJHL, they reported an agenda that there was a situation between Don and Candace, but really in all actuality, what they reported was more of a situation where the police were incapable of making a decision one way or the other. Now, with that unnecessary gray area sensationalism, what came with that was a very public informative document, a public information document about the report, which contained Donnie's new number. So it was unnecessarily sensationalized in that gray area because there was no action taken. It was bound over for a private prosecution or a private session, but did contain his phone number, which ultimately became damaging again for the reintroduction of the YouTubers into Donnie's life. So thank you for that question. So you could sort of see that angle of what would be gray area sensationalism. There's been many sensationalisms throughout the whole course of this, and then there's been very important facts that haven't received the sort of awareness that you think that they should have. But ultimately, in terms of things that don't get addressed on YouTube, that's usually a good thing, because if it's not addressed on the YouTube and it's an important fact, that means that it slips through and it doesn't get tainted or polluted here.
Followed, because advertising is also a part of the media, and there are several laws of land like Indian Penal Code and other various acts which relates to journalists and media persons and what they should not do in terms of certain particular areas of operation.
Right, now that is in terms of release, how that would apply in my interpretation is to things that should not be public information maybe ever, or things that should not be public information until they're cleared by the law enforcement, which sort of coincides with the first ideal, is that once you turn something into the TBI, pardon me, for the most part, they're never going to call you and say, yeah, YouTuber, tip's clear, go ahead and report it. So therein lies that restraint, right? That having a boundary first and then placing a restraint on yourself, aka an emergency brake or some sort of stopping mechanism, where you rapidly see the stop sign, which is too much commentary, stop.
And there was a bill tried to be brought by the Information and Broadcasting Ministry, the Broadcasting Bill. There also something was there called Code of Ethics, which did not see the light of the day, but as a research material.
Now, did you hear what he said? They tried to implement this code of ethics, but there was no way in hell. It never saw the light of day. All it did was remain as a resource to go back for study or for a touch up for potentially it could be when it's not used. This is what happens when things aren't brought into law. Well, not law, but into this sort of scenario. When a reporter jumps out of their body and reports some stuff that they shouldn't, what happens is that the research material for the code of ethics is then used as a way to punish someone, right? Well, your punishment is to take a code of ethics class or to, read and then rewrite the code of ethics so as we have a basic confidence that you understand what they are. Right now, when you use the code of ethics and morality and professionalism as a punishment, what you then have is people that offend against those boundaries and lack that restraint. Now they have an even stronger emotional fervor to not adhere to it, if that makes sense. They become resentful of the code of ethics and will take a shot to breach the code of ethics now any chance available. Usually subtly, but in the YouTube world, not subtly at all.
All the study material, these are good because these were well thought of. For covering children also, we have several ethical norms and several legislative.
This is important. This is very important. I'm going to leave this here really quick. I'm going to do a sound check. Because this is the first time using the microphone over on our channel. So in terms of release, check. That would apply in my interpretation. In terms of release, check. Okay. Okay. All right. I'm going to get a little something to drink real quick. Give me 30 seconds and start. Not even. Look at that. Not even 30 seconds. This is important, you guys. This is A1. I mean, this is what we got to have to listen. This isn't about making money, right? I talked about it on a panel. I talked about it on a panel. And I think it was Tiffany Marie's. I said, "What I'm here for? I'm here to bring somebody home. I'm not here to make money. I'm not here to become popular." I said, I want to feel what it feels like to bring someone home. Like, people pay money to jump out of airplanes in order to, like, for of service no matter what. But can you imagine the emotional high that you would get from bringing somebody home? Like, that would just have to be absolutely, the most colossal, great feeling ever, right? And of course, the real payoff is to bring our subjects home alive, right? That's really going to be the payoff, right? Not to say that bringing closure isn't going to be helpful as well, because it absolutely will. Oh, fizzle. Damn you. All right, here we go. We're almost done, guys. Ladies. So we're to the point where we all need to be paying attention. They save the best for last. Okay. Here we go.
legislations. I'm not going into detail. Here I would like to say it's not only the ethical considerations, but there are certain laws. Legally, you are unable to disclose the identity of a victim who has been tortured physically, who's a lady. So these are the...
Do you see? This is let's go back to what I said. A lot of times other countries have more effective architecture for their ethics and now I'm not talking about justice or freedoms. I'm talking about their ethics, intra media, quite naturally. They won't. It's like American media doesn't like to name public mass shooters. A lot of your mainstream networks, they may touch on them once to sort of identify who that person is as a due diligence, right? Some sort of transparent media transparency. But after he's identified, they just like to call him the shooter or the suspect. They don't like to keep compounding and reaffirming that name. They want to reaffirm victim names. So in terms of children, we have to think of how creators feel when their children are doxxed. How do you think the Wells feel? Do you think that the Wells should just be over it by now? Imagine your house popping up online. Imagine putting your name in the YouTube search and seeing 50 or 100,000 videos that got your children, your face, your house. I suppose at a point you might become desensitized to that, in a way that you shouldn't be desensitized.
Things which under the law, like section 228A of Indian Penal Code, prohibits you from disclosing the identity
This does not apply to us, but it should.
of a tortured woman. So these are there.
Now, torture there is all encompassing. That term encompasses physical or SA.
The ethical considerations, but these are things which are bound by the law. So there are several laws also which we need to see.
Do we all think that there could be a real world confliction here? I mean, I think the ones that would have an intelligent argument could say that there would be a confliction, because if you're bound by duty in penal code to not identify women and children in your media, then how does the Amber Alert fall into that scenario as well? Because that scenario is all about blasting a name, a suspect, a car, a license plate, potentially in a direction of travel, usually. So how do you identify the public of who they should be looking for? But then when you come to YouTube, you don't use this information to further fulcrum and propel this. So there has to be a middle ground. Güera, hola güera, ¿cómo está? ¿Cómo está? For anybody that doesn't know what a güera is it is in Latin America, it means fair-skinned. But the way that it's used in America sometimes is slang, so güera would mean white girl, not necessarily a light-skinned Hispanic woman. But I love where you're going with it.
There are other provisions, legal and ethical. These are defamation, civil and criminal. You cannot defame anybody. There are contempt of court, that you have to report the court judgment objectively, and you cannot be disrespectful to the court. Then you cannot be disrespectful to the parliament and assemblies, and you should report properly. That's the parliamentary privilege. The Official Secrets Act, which you are not supposed to write and all. It's a veil of secrecy. There's a law existing, the archaic law, but it's still there. The right to information, how to gather information through Right to Information Act. This is a positive thing. And
now, we should, if we're intelligent Well, it doesn't take a lot of intelligence to do this. For those of us that have that intelligence, there is a common ground somewhere that's not a slippery slope that will still allow you to talk about cases that that reflect a woman or a child's a presence in that situation. There is a responsible way, and I'll tell you, because we're all the creators are different, how each of us adhere to these particular dynamics in our own way doesn't matter as long as it's adhered to, right? It doesn't matter if you got down south by going way north or you went east, however you get to where you need to go, as long as you stop before you get over the line, okay?
Division Act, that what can be done televised by the cable operator. This is very important. Information Technology Act, the Code of Ethics for sting operations. Even there are certain sting operations, and they have the body has formed certain ethical considerations that how far a sting operation should go. And the Copyright Act, these are things.
That means investigative news, right? Which a lot of us are doing. Like, look at Ernie Shell. I want this to be, I really want this to be the introduction. I really want this to be the introduction of ethics into our true crime community. And I want this to be taken very seriously. It's a very serious situation. Guys, is my sound a little bit better? Is my sound better? It should be a little better. Yes. Okay, cool. Excellent. Cool. So the legal provisions that you see here that would be, the defamation, civil court, criminal court, contempt of court, those things should be real world consequences that we most certainly abide by as a consequence for going too far in our coverage of these things. I do believe that the threshold for our community, it should be, I don't know how we're going to work out the consequence situation of this. Unfortunately, someone's going to have to be made the example. Someone's going to have to be sued, or I don't know what. Be locked up for obstruction of justice. Something is going. Thank you. Got more bottom now? Yeah, it was just light and airy on the top. Yeah, it sticks in there now. Cool. So that's where we're at. Let's move forward.
Which everybody should know. And in this connection, I would also like to draw your attention that every citizen enjoys the right to privacy. It is enshrined in Article 21 of the Constitution of India. Now,
this is where culturing differs, right? Now we have so many different case studies to look at via social media that you can see. It's hard to obtain the real true north when it comes to what people's opinion is of the sort of help that social media provides to these disappearances and these criminal cases. There isn't a dead set standard and boundary, whereas here you can see in India they've got an Art 21, which victims have a right to privacy when covering death, grief, and grief with dignity, right? Like you absolutely have to cover these things. And when you look at abductions that go long term, I think that abductions in general. What am I trying to? I'm trying to, break this down too fine. Like there just is levels to it, and there's really no in between. You're either on the team or you're not.
And we need to give credence to it. We need to give proper value to this. Sometimes we, basically in the media, we do not understand and we exceed the limit of, and we cross the limit that a person is protected for his privacy.
Completely breach, I mean completely breach anything that is, it looks like common sense or common logic. Like absolutely, completely go to a place that you have absolutely no right going to. I mean, no right going to.
Now, covering death and grief or disaster with dignity. That is also,
You know, yeah, I'm not gonna speak on that. It's the wrong forum. Hey, it's small fries to a Big Mac, baby. Hey, good to see you now.
something which we should do ethically. Sometimes in our practice or whatever we present, we cross the limit of privacy, we cross the limit of respect, which is required to be given in disaster, death, and calamities, because this is covering grief.
Grief, right? Everyone needs to be respected in their time of grief. Let me tell you what, even though someone may be the perpetrator or the suspect, and then later a defendant in a criminal case against, let's say, their own child, we see it every day on the media. Just because that parent may have committed a crime against their own children doesn't mean that they're not grieving. And we have to be adult enough to even be able to identify that, right? Someone may have been in an altered state. Someone may have been in, a very passionate state. Whatever leads to these tragedies taking place. Just because a parent or someone offends does not mean that they don't grieve, right? Like that's making an offender a robot, and they're not robots. A lot of times people in certain situations will offend and immediately ask for repentance, right? So when they're asking for repentance, that's the outward look of an inward feeling, right? They you can tell if they're asking for forgiveness and repentance. A lot of times at trial, sometimes even at arraignment, you will see someone that was in an altered state commit an act or do something with their car that kills or maims someone. As soon as they're not altered, they're showing signs of wanting to be forgiven, projecting the need to feel forgiven at any cost, even if it means every day for the rest of their life. They're in the Bing. You've got to be able to to give forgiveness. I don't have time for all that right now.
There are certain other factors for which we have to be careful that it has to be for public interest, the privacy, as I said, the right to reply. You are writing something and somebody is aggrieved and wants to give a rejoinder, or his views also has to give a place in your media organization. You can enjoy a right to reply because you have written something for him.
Now, the right to reply. Fizzle is good about that. Maybe almost to a fault, in my opinion. I believe that that there's a line that supersedes all things decent, right? And that line is to not be obstructed or breached or anything. It's a boundary. And when someone comes incorrect, and we all know what incorrect is, whether it's unfactual, whether it's biased, whether it's laced with ad hominem. For those that aren't familiar with what ad hominem is an argument against your character and not the position that you maintain. Right? Oh, Don is this, Benny. Don is that. Well, sorry. Guess what? I don't represent Don like I do due process. Right? So if you're building an architecture and everyone wants to call due process Don and Candace, guess what? Over the course of you watching me and already having watched me, you've seen many Dons and Candaces. And that is no play on who they are personally. I just mean their appointed position. It was Monica Sherrod, or it was Jacqueline and Trezell West. There's always going to be a Don and Candace. There's always going to be the parents who are victims, along with a child who has become the main focus. That's what we're here for. Crimes against children. We all have a strange proclivity to the rest of the world. We have a strange proclivity to being involved, and some of us very, very involved in crimes against children.
Yes, the obscenity, horror, stereotyping, even the calamities or mass grave or mass cremation, all.
Stereotypings would be like to call Penny ghetto, or to stereotype Benny is gay or bisexual. You could do any of these things, and then make calamities out of them, right? Calamities is sort of another word that could be used synonymously with smear campaigns, right? Like you making fun of a creator's sexuality, whether it's true or not, becomes a calamity because you only have a certain portion of your audience that will adhere and find that comical. And even those people probably publicly, or I mean rather privately, will have a scenario in their life where it's not funny. So a lot of the things that's why we don't like the R word, right? People, we don't like the R word. Some people are okay with listening to the R word. Some people don't they don't like it at all. So it's different flavors for different neighbors.
These you must be careful in showing the gory details. You must know when to stop.
Gory details. That could look like bones. That could look like it could look like a lot of things that aren't factual, right? Now, that's not to say that things that are sometimes gruesome aren't factual. That's not what I'm saying. It's just that a lot of the gruesomeness and the gore absolutely 100% should be and could be very censored. That's the thing. I hear a lot of people screaming, "Oh, F censorship, F censorship." But let me tell you what, when it comes to children and women, we must absolutely be censored. Now, when I say that doesn't mean that you can't call Trisha a skank. It's not what I'm saying. Trisha's not the victim of the crime here. She's just an extra in the theatrics.
Basically, there are other factors which we need to avoid. That
Dutchie, good morning, beautiful.
We should not be influenced. We should not be partisan. There should not be any defamation. There should not be any content. As I said, there should not be anything which is instigating violence. As I said, that India is a multiracial,
It's not just India. We do see that a lot of these things that we say, like I go online, and last night I had an email. Ernie Shell was trying to get somebody to believe he was in Texas, and it's just silly, right? That's or the doxing, right? I see now that the doxing to a unhealthy mind, which there are many here in YouTube, many unhealthy minds. A potential doxing does put someone in real physical harm or financial harm, or could be the victim of vandalizing, any number of things.
Cultural, multilingual country. So there are various groups, and we should be very careful that in our presentation of news and information, we should not instigate violence against others. This is there enshrined in the Constitution as well as in the election law. So we need to be very careful.
Now, to expound on that further, what we have is we have a strange culture and phenomenon where if I were to pull up 110 Ben Hill Road right now, I mean, I just did it, right? I just doxed their address, right? Candace Wells, 110 Ben Hill Road. But we've been doing it for 8 months now. So it's not a problem, right? No, Benny. You just doxed Candace. It is a problem. See, what happens on YouTube and in America with the victim blaming crisis is that it's okay to dox Candace because she's the victim of a tragic situation. Right? It becomes acceptable to dox Candace every single day. And what remains on that hill, that woman has virtually lost every single thing of her own. I mean, every piece, every apparatus, every portion of her family it's gone. It's been taken. All right. So she's experiencing a grief that we cannot fathom. Hua. It's not like it wasn't a loss that was 8 months ago that was all on one day. It was several losses collectively. So Nurse Rojo, that's where the ethics and professionalism come in, right? I do believe that it's case specific. I believe in this case, due to the nature of the community there, we should have had a real object, a real mission to keep the wells safe. But I mean, every case, go look at it. Cash Gernon, his house all over online, right? My house all over online. The West in Cal City all over online. Tim Mullen's house all over online. Every single person, Robbins. I mean, you name it, they've been online. So, I don't know. You got to ask yourself that. And I don't mean that in an offensive way at all. I just mean, you have to ask yourself, right? Okay, it's public knowledge. Well, Nurse Rojo, would you care to put your address and your full name in the chat with your birth date, your children's name, your children's birth dates, what school they go to? No. Yeah.
Very, very careful, I should say, while reporting those clashes and other things, that it should not create any further problems. And provocative headlines we have tempted sometimes that which cannot be substantiated in the story or the news we have gathered. We should not go for catching eyeballs. We sensationalize, but we cannot substantiate. And unnecessary reference of caste, creed, and religion, which is also unnecessary, and we should.
Referring to Penny as ghetto. That certainly was an unnecessary pull. And that was just and I'm only bringing it up because it was a good example of how you could say something not being educated on the way somebody's real domestic life is. And then all of a sudden you say something that's insensitive against, someone's culturing. So it's very easy to step into these holes. Right? They're pitfalls that we dig for ourselves. These aren't necessarily things that people are perpetrating against us. Some do, right? But others, we walk into it all on our own.
It's not be there. And then glorification of social evils and crimes, sometimes the media does, which should not be done.
Glorification. Well, in this situation that we have with the wells, the glorification that we have is we are glorifying what we should be talking about privately in our think tank groups. And that's stats, right? Like, this situation is tumultuous in the sense that you have a situation, we have stats. The stats tell us that, in the high 90 percentile range sometimes, that these situations are perpetrated by familial units, right? So familial members, components. So we have a responsibility to handle it in a way that doesn't pollute the stats, right? Now, we have a reach with social media. We have reach. We can reach out and touch things that we shouldn't be able to touch, and affect people's due processes in a way that should completely be off limits for us, right? We should have no bearing or no weight on real cases. Absolutely none. We serve most of the time we serve as a disservice to a lot of these cases.
Plagiarism is something that we should not borrow.
Plagiarism. Now, plagiarism, yes, ethically and professionally should not be happening, Trisha, at all. It does not. It does not help you obtain a respectable positioning with allies that are respectable and credible if you plagiarize. Now, one could say that a continuous stream of covering the same cases with the same facts, it could look like plagiarism if you only have X, Y, and Z to report about, and everyone's reporting X, Y, and Z, and they only stick to the facts. It's going to be a continuous stream. What plagiarism certainly deals with more intensely is taking someone's product. Now, in YouTube, pardon me, we have the Fair Use Act. And the way that the Fair Use Act plays into creating is that the fair use, it sort of promotes and advertises the right to other subscribers to use portions of your content, just like I'm doing now with this Channel 5. Go subscribe to, hold on. You guys go subscribe to this channel. This guy kicks knowledge. Real spill. Channel 5, go check him out. Back to it. In fact, I will link this channel in the description. Okay, I skipped back about 5 or 10 seconds in order to catch the plagiarism because I stopped him kind of midstream. So we're gonna pick that back up here.
Evils and crimes sometimes the media does, which should not be done. Plagiarism is something that we should not borrow somebody's own work without his consent, unauthorized lifting of stories, and an illegal reproduction of materials, etc. We have to be very careful. Friends, we tried to give in this episode an overview of ethical considerations which should be followed in the media, and I believe that since the media goes straight to the public instantly, we have to be very careful in whatever we are deliberating, we are disseminating. Otherwise, we should not be given half-truth. We should not give something that which instigate further violence, and we should protect the sanctity. We should be very careful about
protect the sanctity. The sanctity. So many of us say that we're here to get justice for Summer, for instance. Also, not understanding that a lot of the things that we create, and when I say we, I put myself in the community with everyone. I'm not gonna set myself on a pedestal above anyone else. Some of the things that I have expressed today, I have played and do play a part in, and this is educating myself as well, right? But so many of the things that we see, they happen, and they're against the very sanctity of feeling safe. They're against the sanctity of the American judicial system, against the sanctity of media relations, professionalism, and ethics as it relates to crimes involving children. We have a really real responsibility. Can someone put in the chat the change.org before we close up? I'm going to bring you over to that because I know there's new faces here that haven't been exposed to the diggity dang on petition. Sorry, guys. So I don't see anyone necessarily taking this, the sanctity of these children's legacy and their safety at heart, right? I mean, we have to remember that at some point, these boys, the Wells boys, may encounter a heavy-duty, long-term dose of bullying because of the things that's been put on the media about their parents. Oh, your parents are dope heads. Oh, your parents are drunks. Oh, your dad is this and your dad is that. Like it doesn't like that's outside of the fact that their sister is missing or could still be missing at that point, right? So you create a very real world situation where these boys varying in age as they go up will have to contend for the things that they should be getting just as regular boys in America and regular men in America.
Not giving the obscenity, and everybody's respect has to be maintained, and even covering death and disaster, we have to show dignity, and there are certain laws, certain ethical considerations we should know and we should follow in our day-to-day work. Then only the standard of media will be uplifted, the kind of position it has been given in the democracy.
You see that? When we adhere to an ethical conformity, right? Because that's what it is. We need to conform. When we abide to an ethical conformity in terms of the victims of the cases we're handling, I'm not asking anyone to engineer in the way content creators F each other up. I'm not like that is something different altogether, right? What I'm referring to is the way that we handle people like the Wells, and it doesn't matter what their background is. In fact, if someone has a bad background, there's almost the due diligence to keep that private, because with this code of ethics, you have to see the way things cause and affect each other. And it's not going to be a cut and dry situation every time, right? Now, there are ways to be extra conservative, and that's to apply more self-restraint. You don't get as close to the line as other people that are more liberal or less conservative, right? That's where you see in the news, right? You have a line of decency. You've got the conservative news way out here, the more liberal news right here, right? That's what we got here. But really what we have here is here's the line of decency. Everything good is over here. We work backwards on the scale, right? Like the better your channel is probably is because you're more nefarious. The less positive, the less negative your channel is getting closer to being normal, but they're all bad.
If we have to live up to that, we have to follow our ethics so that our standard, the standard of media in general, will improve, and then the entire democracy will improve, the entire society will improve. Thank you very much.
Well, that was certainly informative. Let me come back over here. I want to give people the opportunity now to come up on the situationship here, if you would like, and speak about the code of ethics, pertaining to the code of ethics only. You're welcome to come up and discuss the code of ethics. Thank you, JW. Thank you so much. Who is Law Ann? What's the issue with Law Ann? Is this person, where are we at here? Miss Weller, if you'd like the opportunity to come up here and voice your grievances, up here would be the place to do it. We usually have a pretty calm chat, and I'm certainly trying to culture it into a positive place for, first of all, the ladies and the few gentlemen that have been here. Of course, the ladies that have been here and the gentlemen that have been here, they're culturing an environment down below that's safe and appropriate for everyone. Now, we do have our times, And my people, they know how to shift gears. That's what's dynamic about my day ones, is that they know how. PayPal gang, 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 gang. Who we got here? See your face, Ann? Hey, Miss St. Elmo's. Thank you, beautiful. Thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't see it. Can I see it one more time? I was looking away. Okay, thank you. How you doing there, Miss Ann?
I'm doing okay, Benny.
Good.
You did an awesome show here today, let me tell you.
Thank you, madam.
Very informative.
Thank you.
Really, really enjoyed it.
Thank you. I
Pay
think
very close attention, and a whole lot of others would do very good if they would pay very close attention.
You know, not, but you know what, Miss Ann? I think that really what my construct this morning is just, you know, of course, it's not anything that I put together myself. These are seeds that have been planted by many other people, and there's many things going on. And, you know, I wanted to publicly apply this to myself first. And I thought that if, you know, of course, this doesn't apply straightforward, cut and dry, black and white to when creators, you know, bash on each other, right? It doesn't, it's different. It's gonna have to be a different set of rules that apply to that. And I don't know what that looks like. And that's not to say that I wouldn't ever be involved in that again. I think that, you know, a portion of jumping on other creators is to try to get them back in line. So I don't know what the balance is with that, but I know when it comes to handling women in children's cases,
I think that if you choose to be someone in this field, and if you don't take an oath within your heart 100% across the board to take a stand for what's right and the truth, and only to treat people as you would want to be treated at all times, step down.
That's right.
I opened my channel this weekend.
Well, congratulations. Welcome.
And my motto is standing for what's right and the truth.
Right. The pursuit of truth.
Right. And I won't allow anyone to take that from me.
Yep.
No one.
I don't pursue perfection. I just pursue progress. Right. Progress, you know, progress constitutes growth. Right. You don't plant an acorn and then in 2 hours you have a whole tree. It's a process. It's not an event. So, you know, armed with, you know, knowing that it's not, you know, that this process is going to be a process. It's not going to, you know, you're not going to make a video about adhering to a professional ethics and a code of morality, and then the whole community take a turn, you know, one by one, you know, hour by hour. It's not, it's, some people will never meet the standard.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Unfortunately, because it would, you know, it would undoubtedly make, this is the thing. Like these people, for Ernie Shell, for instance, Ernie thinks that to be what he is to be. And it's not. Like he could be a good guy and it would get him 1,000 miles further. Right. Not only that, but as content creators, if we create a soft place for these victims to land, we don't have to holler at them, and from across the internet and holler nefarious things at them so that they'll respond. If you treat them like human beings, I could just call Candace on the phone right now and ask her a question if I wanted to. Not a whole lot of other people could do that. They rather be caught up in these sensational situations where they can call Candace a bitch or whatever, and then other people who don't like Candace, they'll pay. They'll pay because they, you know, yeah. I can't call Candace directly and call her a bitch, but I can pay you to do it. That's what it ends up, right?
That's right. And right
it's
on
easier. And that's, let me add that. And it's easier to call someone a bitch and not be friends and scream at them on the internet. It takes less energy to do that than it does to foster and try to culture a relationship with this person so as you can be front runner right there getting the information that you need.
The most important thing is that if you keep the heart for the victim and the true victim,
that's it.
You have that instilled in you, and you push with that in the forefront.
It's like we have, it's like a community of people that like are so afraid to be wrong. That's their thing, right? Like, oh, I don't want to get to the end of this thing. Or let me step back. They'll say, Benny, you know Don's guilty. You're going to get to the end of this thing and you're going to be so wrong. And I'm like, how could I be wrong just covering what the parents say and what the police say? Right? If you want to call it wrong, then I'm wrong on the side of the police, the FBI, TBI, Hawkins County, right? Like that's pretty good company to be wrong with, right?
That's right. And if like you just said a moment ago, taking a step back, if you make sure that you keep it in mind, if this was my child, if this
That's
was
it. It's that
my
easy.
sister, my mother, my father.
It's that easy. You know, it's like they even tell UPS workers like, you know, like deliver the boxes like they're your Christmas presents, right? Like that's, you know, that's what makes you, you know, the most efficient, serviceable person. Like, you know, if you can just treat it like it's yours, how hard is that to treat it like it's yours?
That's
Right?
right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, are you gonna, you know, I don't know, like, you're gonna beat up your own car? No. So why, when you go rent a car, would you beat that one up? Good people don't, right?
That's right. And if you're done wrong, let me tell you, one of the things that I started on my channel over the weekend was addressing a certain party that has literally, and I mean literally, Benny, I sincerely mean literally, almost pushed me to my complete end of this earth. This creator done this. I'm not going to say their name on your panel because I'm going to show the respect.
You can
But
put it in the private chat.
This creator, I promise you, I want to say and do so much for the harm and the disgrace that this creator done to my beautiful son and my family and myself. But I'm not going to bring it to this panel, my own channel. I'm done with that. If we have a disagreement, there is a respectful way to handle that disagreement, so that you keep within your own standards and keep the respect. And then people need to remember those things when you're handling something concerning someone else. You think about if it's your child, your mother, your sister, so forth. And
Absolutely.
when you have a disagreement, you stay within a boundary to keep your respect.
You know, here in Texas, you know, a lot of the younger generation Xers, you know, and I see it in a lot of us older folks too. Like we'll go somewhere and you'll see, hey fam, or hey family. Like, you know, it's a big thing, you know, it's a way to greet people here in the South. Hey fam. But it's like one of my one of my rebuttals is always, and I've said it to people, I'm like, whoa, bro, don't call me family. I see the way you treat your family. I don't want to be in your family. Right. And that's, you know, that's sort of another testament to the way the YouTube, you know, sort of family dynamics are, right? Like we call them family, but let them say one thing that's sort of against what you even have going that moment, And that real super chattable love is now dark doxing hate.
I just really wish people would really start to take a long look at what is happening to the world. Every day, every second, every minute, every hour. The world is becoming like it is because people are making it this way.
Well, I mean, hell, we're on the cusp of World War III right now.
Yeah. And a change is needed more than ever now.
Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly, 100%. I think that if we don't hurry up and do something, it's going to be too late. And,
Yes.
oftentimes I will look, or I'll be confronted with certain days or situations that transpire, specifically in Summer's case. And it's like some days you see the next, most irrehensible, most deplorable thing. And you're like, that's going to be the thing that ruins it. And it's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if the energy of Summer's case is resilient, or because I still think there's hope, right? Like, still have hope, right? Like, I couldn't be associated with Don and Candace if every time they talked to me, I was like, oh yeah, I think your daughter's dead. That wouldn't work, right? Like, I can't be in the position I'm in and constantly try to, reiterate to them what I think has gone on with their daughter, because that's not, it's not the reality. I can't know that. That would be me sensationalizing, a stat. And at this point, I refuse to sensationalize a stat. We all know the stats, right? I don't even feel the need, Ann, to come here and talk about the stats, right? Because I can just say, go find out what the stats are for abducted children after 3 hours, after 10 hours. Like, you can find the architecture for what happens, but I don't feel the need to talk about it because I have hope.
That's right. Very, very good point.
Yeah. I mean, I have hope, and I have a hope. I have a hope for closure.
I have a hope that answers will come.
Absolutely.
Eventually, answers will come. It may not be within any of our wishes in our time frame, but the answers will come. And if you hold on to that hope, the passion, and the love, true love, and stand for what's right and the truth, it will come.
I mean, yeah. And let me ask a very real question. When does Candace Wells, when does all the loss stop happening so that she can start to pick away at grieving? Because, I mean, how do you grieve your whole family? Like, where do you start at? Who do you, I mean, do you continue trying to grieve in the middle of the process she was for Summer first and then the boys? Or is it because now her man's gone? I mean, because we know the biblical clock would say for Candace to love her God, her husband first, second, and then everything else last. So is she to stop the grieving process for her kids that she was already in the middle of, and now start grieving the fact that Don's gone for what could be a whole year during the most tragic time when are we here to talk about the toxicity or the nature and dynamics of their relationship? No, but they made it this far together. And now you remove the thing that made Candace, confident enough and strong enough to make it through the day. And I don't really know where Candace heads at during all this time, right? It's I haven't asked her. I feel like if she wants to tell me where she's at or is having a problem, she'll tell me. I'm pretty aware that it's a loss, right? A financial loss, a life stability loss. Like, there's there's many losses that further encompass, Don going. So
my answer to what you asked is, which was, where does Candace start? First and foremost, she must continue to grieve every minute, hour, and every day. It's not going to end.
no, it's not.
It'll never
No.
end for her until she has true answers.
No, and the thing that I think that a lot of people they haven't even come to realize yet is that if you think of the dynamics and the logic of grieving an active case that hasn't been brought to a resolution yet, is that some cases, closure, or real world closure, bringing home an answer, now it destroys everything that you've built up for that time your loved one was gone. It's broken down your grieving process back to square one. And then you've got to grieve it all over again, but now with the finality and the resolution designed into the story as well. So it's like you may have grieved the loss of a child, and then 5 years later they find your child's remains, and then that for some people may be a grieving that you never end. But before the child was found, there was a finality to the grieving in some cases. So it's this is such a multi-dynamic situation, and it deals with so many very sensitive emotions that no one could compute and try to quantify what Candace. I mean, I couldn't even dictate to you really what Candace is going through, even if she told me in an earpiece. I'm not going to give it to you like she is.
Let me tell you this, Benny.
I see your face, Miss Laura.
Mr. Benny, when I lost my son on July 19th, when I became aware my son had left this earth, my son became missing 2 days, nearly 3 days after passing. My son became missing. On the fifth day after my son was missing, I was informed that my son was then non-viewable. He could never be viewed again, and I could only sign a waiver to view my son again.
Yeah, it's the same way my sister was.
2 hours after being told that my son became missing, Benny, the authorities lost my son. They didn't know. No one knew. I was out of my mind climbing walls and ceilings for 2 days, not knowing where my deceased son was. What building in North Carolina was my baby? 30 years old. And when I was told a couple days later that my son then was non-viewable, a couple hours after that, I fully coded, and 2 of my daughters had to watch CPR be performed on me in a gas station parking lot from what appeared to be some sort of seizure, and then I went to non-responsive in the midst of that.
That's the power of loss right there.
Yes,
you fully experienced that.
Yeah.
How you doing, Miss Laura? Oh, hold on. I muted you. Sorry. How you doing, Miss Laura?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for asking. Thank you for joining us. This your first time up?
Yes, I'm a little nervous. But
Don't
anyway.
worry. Don't worry. It's just the three of us. The three of us.
Yeah, just the three of us.
That's it.
Anyway, I just want to say first, I'm so proud of you, Benny.
Thank you, madam.
I've watched you from the very beginning.
Thank you, madam.
I live about 15 minutes away from Dawn and Candace.
Oh, wow.
And I have worked in the foster care system for 25 years. And I've done foster care.
Thank you for your service.
Well, just 25 years. Before I had my first child, I told God, I said, if you give me one of my own, then I'll spend the rest of my life doing this. And so he did. And anyway, my point is, everything that goes online about those boys, they're going to see it. They see it.
You know
Whether
what?
it's at school, a friend's house.
I mean, there's kids that are seeing it right now that have never met the boys and that will encounter them later on. You have to know that. I mean,
Yeah.
oh, you're the three boys whose sister, like, and that's going to be taken, you know, whether it be they just know about her sister, or, oh yeah, I saw your dad online, like he's X, Y, and Z, or your mom is, you know, ABC. Like, that's what's coming.
Yeah. And you know, growing up, when you're their age, kids are cruel.
Oh,
You
goodness.
know,
They're like little terrorists, aren't they?
Yeah, we lived in the country and we didn't have a lot of money, you know, and you know, kids on you ride the school bus home, kids point and say things. We all know that. So as adults, you know, who are in true crime and love it, shouldn't we be protecting those kids?
You would think so. But see, that's the thing. They don't have the depth, Miss Laura, to be able to see that by ridiculing and making these crazy pieces of media for 8 months or longer, that there's actually a trickle down economic with that. Like, the trickle down economic is that you cannot be for Summer if you're
and
leaving
her family.
Yeah, if you're not for her family. Like, you're leaving an ugly, nasty, deplorable, despicable footprint forensically all over online. But at the same time, you say, oh, I'm here for Summer. But, you know, like, F her parents and anyone that's, you know, like no.
Right.
People can't get it through. This is how you know common sense is not common. People can't get it through that even if Don and Candace may have done something, you would still be helping them by finding their daughter.
Exactly.
I mean, if you don't want to help Don and Candace, stop helping them try to find their daughter. Go away.
Yeah. Just go away.
We got billboards. Like, there's enough stuff out there now.
Yeah. Let the TBI do it. Let, you know, Ellie do it. Just
leave it alone.
Leave it alone, because you are killing what kids they have left. And that's my concern.
Yeah, absolutely. You know? I mean, you don't know. Actually, there was a 12-year-old boy yesterday. I don't know if anyone saw this in the news. There was a 12-year-old boy who was bullied. He had one bully, and he ended up committing the big S a couple of days ago. 12 years old. That is just a phenomenon that's regular now. You know, growing up in my day and age, like, you never heard about children that had that sort of negative depth to themselves. And nowadays, you know, with the relative, you know, ease of looking at very dark things online, we've cultured these children with the video games and the movies and the, you know, the shoot 'em up stuff. Like, you know, like parents don't understand that, you know, the downside of an Xbox babysitter is that you're culturing, you know, a sharpshooter in the bedroom.
Right. You're desensitizing them.
Yeah.
You know, but
and
anyway,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No,
I won't
go ahead.
take up more of your time, but I just wanted to let you know, I'm so proud of you. You've grown and you just keep growing. And I'm right here in East Tennessee. So, and I know the foster care system, and these kids are hearing what all these crazy adults are saying. And people are putting in their chats, and, you know, they're living it every day, even in foster care.
Correct. Absolutely. And we know historically, you know, some children have been taken away from their families for mild to moderate intra-household issues, and then been thrust into, you know, foster care, you know, factories where they've been abused, you know, tenfold, right? It's not
from foster
it's
home
not the norm.
to foster home. No.
Yeah. I mean, we're not so far removed, Laura and Ann, we're not so far removed from, you know, big corporate orphanages in every big city in America. Just housing the children that no one wants. Right?
And people don't need to forget that they could take my kid or your kid on a spur visit, and God forbid we don't have a gallon of milk in the fridge.
That's it.
And that's the truth. That's the hardcore truth.
I want to read. I want to read sort of a disclaimer that forgive me for not being more aware in the moment to make this disclaimer. But in fact, Fizzle, she just made a comment and she sent it to me. Apologizing, and this is in reference to the bones. Okay, apologizing doesn't mean it won't be a point of reference when discussing ethics. This conversation absolutely needs to be had. He did not speak badly of her. I think you may have listened expecting one thing and convinced yourself what was said was malicious. It wasn't. Don't cherry pick, please. Take the whole thing in context. You just commented as if he berated her for 5 hours straight. No, he mentioned it because it was an immediate and familiar circumstance to the audience to draw a parallel to the discussion topic. It happened. If we don't learn from it, how will we learn from it?
Exactly. And I picked up on that each and every time that you spoke of things today.
Yeah, I'm not bashing Ziggy. I'm only using it as a landmark and a reference to a decision that could have been made differently. That's all. That's it. So
I made sure to speak in the chat and praised and prompt you, letting you know that was an excellent point and that you were right on point. You handled that very well today, Benny. You've done an awesome job with today's show.
Thank you, Miss Ann. I really appreciate it. I haven't really. I mean, this was a spur of the moment deal. I just felt led to do this. Even though Fizzle and I had been talking about it for quite a long time, I don't know what the next piece of architecture looks like. I don't know. I even had a fantastical sort of ideal where we create a document and it just gets passed around by the creators and they e-sign it. I don't know how we take the next step, because it's ultimately just a buddy system, right? If it's not taken seriously, like I mentioned during the segment, if it's not taken seriously and it isn't objectified as the official code of morality and ethics and professionalism, what it's used for then is the people that do wish to adhere to the code of ethics. What it becomes is something that is weaponized later on. Like, oh, you did this. Well, this says this and this and this. And then it becomes that thing where you're like, oh, well, you're going to slap me with the ethics book. Well, let me show you this. And I'll become more and more less ethical. Right. So it really is. It's something that the creator specific to themselves has to be able to engage this, understand it, believe it, and then, put it into play.
Let's say New Year's Eve, we all give ourselves our what we would like to accomplish throughout the year. And generally, one typical one is always to be a better person. So each day you can change, grow, and be that better person. So whatever you may have done the day before, the week before, the month before, may not inflect on how you choose to better and build the days ahead.
Correct. I agree. It's one day at a time. It's one day at a time, one step at a time. A lot of times.
Yes.
So what do we got?
I'm going to step out, guys. Thank you all for having me, and have a great day. And I'll still be listening.
Thank you, Miss Ann. Thank you, Miss Laura.
Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye, hon.
Bye.
For the record, I was a foster mother of 3 children too. And I also had my own children, of course. And cool. It's a rewarding gift to be a foster parent.
Yeah. If you're in it for the right reasons, I think that, there's been many children that have really, prospered and been excellent examples of the successes that come from a tragic system. Just because a child goes through certain situations in its life, it's not a it's not a death sentence, so to speak, in terms of them, becoming efficient and charitable adults.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
Well, I don't really want to, this was, I wanted to go with the ethics, and I guess I don't want to add too much more to it. So then, you start to take away from it. So
That's right.
I do appreciate you for coming up, Miss Ann, and voicing your opinion.
Thank you for having me up, Benny. I appreciate it a great deal.
Absolutely, madam. You're welcome any and every time.
Thank you. Have
All
a
right.
great day, everyone, and happy Valentine's to everyone.
Happy Valentine's, love.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, there we have it. There we have it, right? Let me come over here really quick. We are right here. If anybody has any comments, questions, concerns, come back over here. $57,003. Wow, that's a lot of bread. Yeah, I mean, if anyone has anything to add to the code of ethics situation, absolutely. Let's talk about the code of ethics. You're welcome to come up. You're more than welcome. In the meanwhile, I want to show you why we're all here. How are you, sir?
Hanging in there, just praying for my daughter, buddy.
I'm going to go ahead and bring Mr. Wells on. Can you expound on that a little bit? Because I have not heard anything about that. I don't know nothing about that. I hate that we have to see each other again under these circumstances. That's what this is all about. Prayers. Thank you for all the support. And I know Don has turned a lot of hearts around.
Trying to do everything the best I can,
Oh, that was a good one.
That was my whole life, was coming home to my kids. Prayers for Summer and prayers for everybody. God bless you, God.
How you doing?
I'm doing good, Benny. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for asking, love. What's on your mind?
This has been an interesting conversation this morning, and I really appreciate you bringing that up about the code of ethics, because kindness doesn't cost a thing.
No. It's like being clean. It's for free.
I used to work in the nursing field for several years, and I think every area that people work in, whether it's on YouTube or if you have a professional job that you hold, there is a standard code of ethics that is very important. And basically, that's just like principles that we use to conduct ourselves when we're engaging with other people, and that's why I really believe that integrity is super important. And I find that sometimes that's very hard to find when we're talking about these cases, because there's a lot of disinformation and people that are putting things out there that aren't factual, or talking about things that are just muddying the case.
And it buries the factual things.
It really does, and it confuses a lot of people as to like what is really the truth.
Right. Yet so many people from day one, they still don't know a lot of the things. And then imagine, there's people every day. Oh, I'm just new to the case. I just started covering it, 2 days ago. Well, howdy doody. Whoa. Like, how do you fill somebody in on month 8 about what's happened here? And, it becomes impossible, seemingly.
Right.
Yeah.
And in that code of ethics, you have to be objective.
Absolutely.
That's another thing, which is why I personally, and I know you do too, I believe in innocent till proven guilty.
Absolutely.
Because you have to be objective about those kinds of things.
You have to. It does require a sense of delicacy that you don't normally see exhibited really anywhere on YouTube. Like this needs to be a much softer community in terms of handling the victims. Now, again, that creator on creator stuff, that's just always going to kind of be. I think it's like the most extreme difference of opinions, and that's just always going to be human nature, unfortunately.
Right. It's unfortunate that it has to be that way, because part of the code of ethics does involve non-malfeasance.
Absolutely.
And because you want to refrain from causing intentional harm to people,
Yeah,
whether they are the victims or whether they're the people that are subs or people that are creators that you are in the same community with.
Absolutely.
And I feel like people really forget about those things sometimes, and it's really it bothers me. I think there's a lot of people out there that are getting hurt right now. Some of those people are my friends, like Penny. And she is a good person. She is a good friend to me.
Yep, she's a damn good friend to me.
I'm very saddened because we're all being affected by this.
Yep. And what comes from creators being. Oh, hold on.
Hey, her name was Amber. How are you?
How you doing, Amber?
It is so nice to hear your voice.
Yes, it's so nice to see you. Thanks for being.
I've got to go out and come back.
Okay.
Well, actually, I think it's straightened out.
Okay, good.
How you doing, Amber?
I'm doing okay today. Oh, I just want to tell you that I am so very proud that you are getting behind this, because I've been watching about Summer Wells just about since day one. I find myself, I have lost a child. I know where my child's at. I know how I lost her. I can't imagine what it's like to not know where your child's at. And I can remember I used to call them the whispers. Back in the day, people would talk about what they think, the new gossip at the hair salon. Okay, well, that didn't get out too much. But then Facebook hit. That's when my whispers hit, was when Facebook hit. And it was some horrible things. We knew exactly what happened to our daughter. The law enforcement told us exactly what happened to our daughter. But the whispers on Facebooks was things that it would tear a mama's heart out to think someone was thinking that about you.
It changed the legacy of the situation, didn't it?
It does. Real life. Real life. I tried to go on a panel the other night. Wished I didn't. They was very rude to me. And I got on there because I had gotten upset because this creator was discussing how she was losing her income because she requires this income to live on. You know what her monthly income is, and you're making her lose this. Well, no, she's been making income on a little girl's name. And the lies that she had spread. She spread lies that night that just made me, I couldn't even watch her anymore. I know y'all probably already know who it is. But it's disgusting. It's very, very disgusting. My heart goes out to the Whales. I don't know whether they had anything to do with it or not. But at this point, does it matter? Still human.
I mean, until oh, hold on, let me refresh real quick.
I agree with you. Her name was Amber. It's
been something
very stressful.
And I don't think a lot of us subs that are out here, I am not a creator. This is second time on panel. Thank you, Benny. Gang.
You're welcome.
Oh, you're a hard man to get up with. I will tell you that.
Man, I probably get 1,000 emails a day.
I bet you do. That's why I said something you'd gonna have to dig. But yeah, I mean, as subs, I think we've been all kind of sitting back here watching almost like this isn't a real life thing. Yeah. And I don't know, it's just now some of us is just catching up with this, like, wait a minute. Oh no, this is not right. No, and right. It feels like the more we're watching it, the more we're encouraging it. Because that's what makes the channel is the views.
Yeah.
There is a lot of hate watching going on, I feel like.
Oh, hate watching's a real thing.
That is a real thing.
I've caught myself, I'll be honest, I've caught myself too, But I mean, I've just had to go back and unsub and hope that just, wears itself out because this is hateful.
Good luck.
At the end of the day, if we could just stick to the 3 basics of when we think about code of ethics, like in my personal life, I feel like the main 3 things are respect. Respect others' property, their choices, their lives, and just remember that we don't always know what somebody else is going through, and we should take that into consideration. My mom always told me, do unto others as you would have done unto you. So remember that when you make choices.
Yeah, that's what.
And remember to be loyal to your family and your friends, the people that you want to support those people and you want to be there for those people. And always be honest. We as creators that have channels, we have an obligation to tell the truth to our community members and subs, and to the authority figures when we find things out. Like, what kind of service are we doing for our community if
a disservice?
Right. And so, I mean, to me, those are like 3 basic things that I think all of us could get on board with.
Well, we should be, and we should have been on there. We should have been on it automatically.
Right.
It's like, when you're born into the real world, there's progressive stages of progression that you go through. And in here, it's like people run before they crawl, and it's impossible to get them. You can't get them to slow down. Like, you can't tell nobody that knows everything. You can't tell them nothing. So they just run. They run it, towards reckless abandon or with reckless abandon, and then next thing you know, they get their channel snagged, and then they get salty, and it becomes a whole thing,
I think they don't get the attention that they desired when they first created their channel, and so it's just like a child's behavior. I worked in psych medicine for several years, and children who don't get attention from their parents for having good behavior, they will in turn exhibit bad behavior. And if that gets them the attention, they consider that a reward and a win for them. And that is why that behavior continues. And I hate to say it, but I see it. I see it on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it runs rampant. I mean, there's really there's no regulatory system. I mean, it's all going to be self-regulation quite naturally, but it's how it affects the community as a whole. It means nothing until people start to adhere to the idea of a professional, set of ethics and morality standards. And There are going to be those people that are, oppositionally defiant. And, the very idea that there could be some sort of, umbrella of constraint, it bothers people, and it's, I get it. It's like people that don't want to wear the mask. Well, they don't want to wear the mask because they're told to wear the mask. Well, it's like, come on, people. Like, how you doing,
I think the greatest first step that we can all take as individual creators is to say, hey, I know that these are things that I need to do for my channel. And that's a start, because I want to have that type of channel, and I know that you do too, and so does Penny. We want to do those types of things. We want to talk about the truth. We want to present it in a way that's factual and give people information without bringing all of the drama. And there are times when we have to talk about what other people are doing because it's causing problems in the community. And I get that, and I respect that.
The other thing that I would say is that, I would tell people that, like, YouTube, like your mom's in the garage with you, right? Like, you're going to have some, like, you represent, as a creator, you represent your mother and father. So when you come here with all this nefarious, infamous stuff, like, you're a direct representation of your parents' parenting. So, people are gonna say, "Oh, Benny, what about you?" Well, yeah, hey, but guess what? I'm the one that's trying to adhere myself. This is me saying, I'm going to adhere to these things as they concern victims of the cases we're covering.
And you know what? We need to make sure that the proper information about people is spread out. We have creators, and we all know who I'm talking about when it comes to creators who think they know everything and have the information correct on cases. When you fall into a creator like that, who doesn't ever believe they're wrong, and the truth comes out, and now people have to dig into it deeper because of everything they did, it makes it a problem for the community, and it affects everyone else.
I agree, Donald Duck.
Izzle.
It's not hard to be a good person and a good content creator. Like, you can reach out. Like, I know so many creators who work with each other, like, and if they're covering the same topic,
are you cussing
they'll
me?
talk about. Huh? Did someone say something?
Izzy Pop, what's the deal, gang? Are you muted, Izzy?
Izzy.
Yes.
Hey, how you doing, love?
Gang, gang.
Gang, gang. How you doing?
I don't know how to do this. I hope I'm not doing any.
Gang, gang, easy.
You're doing
You're
it
good.
like you're doing it on TV. You're on TV, baby.
I know it. See my cat?
Yes, I see.
I just came up here to be relevant, like everybody else.
Oh, well,
no,
hey.
not y'all, but anybody else. Hey, Donald.
Hello, Izzy. How are you?
I'm just in love with everybody today.
Oh, that's good.
Izzy Pop.
Valentine's Day, like, what better day? Like, you had to take advantage of the love that people just are wearing on their sleeve today, So shoot, let's make it good for something other than baby making.
Hey,
you want to know something that's funny? Is my husband and I don't celebrate Valentine's Day, and the reason we don't celebrate it is because our personal feeling is, if you truly love and respect and have a good relationship with your partner, why do you need to designate one day to treat them, good? You should treat them amazing every single day. Like they're the best thing ever every day.
Yeah, I know an older couple, an older black couple from South Dallas, and they say they take Valentine's Day off. They love so hard all the rest of the year, they take Valentine's Day off.
Me, Yeah. I think the
I'm
last
I'm taking
time
it off this year too. Looking ass.
I kind of take every day off that's has anything to do with love.
Me too.
I'll give it to everybody else. Just don't give it back.
That's it. Yeah. Love hurt.
My
Love hurts
husband and
sometimes.
I will be married 27 years this year.
Oh my God.
Congratulations.
wow,
Yeah.
congratulations. You are a
Yes,
long
thank you, thank
hauler.
you. You damn straight. We have stuck through it, and I mean, and that's what I was going back with our laws. I see, everybody talks about Don and Candace drinking and how they are self-medicating and how that's wrong. Look, until you have been there, you do not know what it takes to get through. We've been
Damn
married that
right.
long. We've had a domestic violence call at our house 9 months after our daughter passed away. We were out of our minds.
Yeah.
Both of us.
I mean, look how
So
some of us behave when we lose our keys or our lighter or our cell phones. Like we will turn
watch
around.
a YouTube video.
Yeah, like we will turn around on the highway going the wrong way to get our phone that's underneath the seat some kind of way.
Not me. I don't even, half the time I don't even know how to work the computer. So
that's me. I'm on my phone right now. Someone called. I don't know how to make y'all come through my speaker no more. So I am there. I am illiterate or computer illiterate. But I'm on drop off panel. Benny, I am so proud of you. I know you get a lot of say, well, Benny does it. Benny does it. But Benny, I've heard you say it. I've seen it in your face. Sometimes you got to be a monster to take up from people.
I mean, look at Harry Potter, or some of these guys. You gotta be a thief and a monster in order to slay a dragon, right?
Yeah,
like you gotta be able to steal the ring and wield a sword in order to win, right? I mean, it's the way it is.
Well,
you keep doing you will have my gang support. You keep doing like this, you will have my support.
Thank you.
Her name is Amber.
Thank you, Miss
Amber.
Yes, and it's so nice to hear all y'all's voices. I see y'all in chat. It's so cool to hear your voices.
Yeah.
Isn't it? I love it.
Dutchy, this is my voice. Meow. Meow. Meow.
I don't have one of those fancy boards Doug has, but I'm going to get one.
This is my mark. To mark, it's meow. Roar.
Said he paid your catnip child support, your cat support. So
feline support.
I know we're supposed to be talking about ethics and morals and all that stuff up here, and I'm lacking in all of the above. And I was wondering if there's an app I can get the morals from. I'm just playing.
No, we're going to catch you up, lovely. Uh-oh. Hold on, y'all. We got the queen coming. Hold the phone. Queen Savage.
What are you doing, beanie looking ass?
Hail to the queen, lovely. How you doing?
What you doing? You can't respond to my text message, you little fucker.
Did you text me or did you email me?
Oh, I text you bastard.
Man, look, I'm like Kevin Gates right now, baby. It's hard. This is hard to navigate. You would think, oh man, 2 phones, you got it nailed down. Man, it is an art to work in 2 phones, keeping them charged, keeping them sound.
I got 2 phones.
Look, y'all.
Well, aren't you special to the people who have 2 phones? I envy you.
Not special.
Savage.
Not.
Hello, everyone. I try not to be rude.
Hello, Savage.
Hello.
Savage Live. I have a phone in my hand, one in my other hand. I have the laptop in front of me and the TV with everybody on here. Man, I don't know what.
You're gonna have a brain tumor by the end of this one. All that shit shooting around.
Look, when you have 7-8 hour streams or 4 hours, 5 hours, I'm sitting here like, oh my God.
I can't.
You know what? At least with Benny, I can be fucking entertained. You put me in front of a heifer stream, and oh my God, give me a bottle of wine or something, because I can't fucking do it sober. It's horrible. My 5 minutes doing it sober. My 5 minutes doing it sober made I wanted to die.
Like there's 2 Bennies. There's a Benny that gets up here and he'll smoke like this. Then there's a Benny that comes on and he smokes like this.
Oh Lord.
That You don't want to fuck with that Benny. He
What the hell you fucking through your nose, you crazy?
hell yeah.
We have a
Shit.
He's cleaning out the airways,
Hey,
okay?
I don't want to waste it. I want to taste it looking at
Oh,
it.
you want to take a taste? Oh, ain't you
Just a
sweet?
little taste.
I will make you blush. I make him blush every time.
Look at I'm already turning red, girl.
Mhm.
Don't make my cat blush.
Ooh.
You need to look at that picture I sent you the other night, Benny. What that beast you on panel with?
Hey Dutchie, hey Donald Duck, hey Savage,
Hey,
hey
I'll
Izzy.
talk to you about that.
Hello, hello.
Hey, Loopy Lindsay, I'm a ragdoll. Ragdoll kitty. No, that's serious. I'm serious. My cat is a ragdoll.
Benny, I think
Oh,
I
really?
found the perfect consequence to whenever people step outside the ethics and and stuff like that.
Really?
The roast channels eat them up.
They what?
The roast channels will eat them up.
Oh yeah.
The roast channel.
Yeah, people like crude and burnt toast.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Savage.
Yeah. Whenever people decide to fuck up, they'll hold them accountable.
Yeah.
That's
You
the
know, I'll tell
point.
you what though, I'm seeing this blossoming in Savage. Like she's starting to get not starting. She may have always had it, but I see more of an interest in certain things that are a little more true crime related than maybe what I saw her doing initially. And I was like, ooh, girl, she got the bug.
Yeah,
That's the same thing with Frank, because he's been covering Molly. He's been getting
Yo, he's really got the bug.
Yeah, he's starting to look into missing persons cases and all that stuff. And I think Frank can really go far with adding that to his content, because Frank's very passionate and empathetic.
Yes, absolutely.
Unlike some people.
And completely, he has his bias completely in check, like 100%.
Mm-hmm.
I just go for the throat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why your name is Savage.
That's it.
Right.
Like
Look, you don't even know me how I was 3 years ago. I used to be real rough.
She said, "Give me that esophagus, bitch."
I know that's right.
You know what? If you get any softer, you're gonna have to change your name to like Savage like.
I know, right? It's my
Almost
grandbaby.
Savage.
Savage. I got one for you.
What?
Savage go lightly.
Oh, she be pissed. Fuck that
Can you
throat, man.
imagine? Oh my God. She would squawk and squawk and squawk. I'm gonna sue her ass. That's my personal property.
Oh,
the hell
boy.
it is.
And Benny can be Bullhorn Benny.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all should do it just for a day.
Just
For Halloween. For Halloween. Do it.
We gotta get one for Penny. Oh, never mind.
But
I'll
first,
be bad.
But if I'm gonna be Bullhorn Betty, you got to give me a minute to
What
create
is
a
it,
channel
Savage?
that's failing.
You know what?
What do you
Just
got,
stick a
Ray?
pillow in your shirt, Benny, and
Hey,
buy a blonde
Benny,
wig.
Yeah.
wouldn't you rather be
No.
JLR?
I knew you were gonna say that. Hell no, I wouldn't.
I'm just playing.
He's a bitch. Any daggone way. He's a prison bitch.
I couldn't fit his underwear or socks.
I wouldn't want to touch his fucking underwear. You see them shit
I'm
stains?
too big.
They were
That was
his panties.
They were his. Look, they were his mother. Stop.
No, they were his panties he wore in prison because he got ass raped. Sorry.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry.
On the stream about ethics. Come on, guys.
Allegedly. Disclaimer. Trigger.
In my opinion.
In my opinion, conspiracy, allegedly, whatever. Whatever you want to call it.
My daughter had to throw in back in my day, so y'all probably heard that. So
Yeah, I heard that loud and clear. Fizzle.
Hey, you know what was funny though, Benny? That
What's that?
fucking bitch did not carry her ass back to Tennessee. 'Cause I told that whore, you go back out there, I'm coming. I would slap the shit out of that bitch right in front of everybody, God and everybody.
Well, you know,
Sorry, your face is dead.
do what?
I said, sorry, your face is dead.
No, I was just I'm listening to her. Like, I think that, Savage, she kind of holds a positioning that you could look like a judicial position. Like if you fall out of your body online, like Savage will pick you back up.
Fall out of your body. Let's fall out of our bodies. How do
I
you do
ain't
that,
picking that
Penny?
bitch up. I ain't picking that cow up.
I mean,
Well,
I mean, most of these jump. Like,
Some people you just need to leave on the ground and let go.
Yeah, exactly.
Opposite of code of ethics. None of those people have any code of ethics. They just
Tingle. My name is Sizzle. Thank you very much.
Sizzle.
I don't know who raised these people. They got raised by a bunch of animals that the way they do out in public. I just don't understand it.
Yeah, it's difficult to try to articulate what's actually going on because like this is more than public, right? Because like when you go public online, you're going online in front of hundreds of people, but when you go out on your own, you're just around the folks that is organically out there. So this is way more public. But actually, I had a question for Penny.
What's that?
Do you see any relative downside to having a code of ethics?
Yes, I do.
The people who don't abide by it will feel left out and ganged up on, I guess.
Which could create sort of a bullying feelings. I mean, because whether or not it's actually bullying, it's someone else's threshold. Like my threshold for feeling threatened might not be the same for somebody else. So what transpires next to me that someone else feels threatened, I might look at it like I don't feel that threatened at all. So it's all about the individual's threshold, but that's where there's the room for the manipulation. I think, you'll have people that manipulate their threshold and say, oh, well, they said F you. That really offends me. That's against the ethics,
That's people who report videos because somebody says one word that they find offensive and then they report it to YouTube.
Oh yeah.
But Benny, that's why I wanted to have the conversation with a backstage panel of several creators together to kind of brainstorm how we're gonna, implement.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
If they so choose to want to.
Right. No, I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? Like I think that it puts a different kind of pressure on the community when you do it publicly, because in my opinion, I think that there could be creators that would wait to sit around to see who else was going to join. Like, well, if they joined, then I guess I got to do this. Like, it's you kind of joining the coalition. It doesn't have anything to do with how someone else is going to accept it or how you think another creator is going to react. Like it's a standard all of yourself. Like I hold myself to a higher standard when I handle sensitive children information or victim information, right?
Well, I guess what I mean is we would probably, ideally we would talk about it, a bunch of us, and come to some sort of uniform decision of what it's going to look like and then present it in unison.
Yeah.
I got an opinion.
I get on board with that.
Huh?
I have an opinion on that.
What's that?
You're talking about code of ethics. Okay. I think of it when I see somebody fucking around like Molly's done and all them other bitches is done. I sit there and think, how would I feel if that was done to me? And that is where that's where my anger and my frustration, and I want to, just nail these bitches to the wall, because I always put myself in the victim shoes, like the Wells or whatever. And I was like, when they went up there on that man's job, I'm telling you, I could have spit nails, because you don't fuck around with somebody's livelihood.
No, and I mean, and look at the trickle down economic of that, right? Like people didn't even understand the dynamic that Don was paying a support to the state for the boys, so that how could you be for the boys and for Summer, but if you want him to lose his job, now he can't pay his support to the state for the kids, right? So
and now Betty's trying to bitch about Candace and her working. Betty, you don't have anywhere to fucking talk. You live off of donations and other people.
Yep.
I don't want to personally attack any creator. Now we could point out behaviors, but I don't want to be specific in associating behaviors to one person, because there's a lot of people that all operate on the same lack of standard, right? And
Fair enough.
yeah, I don't want to, I don't want anybody to feel targeted, because there's already been some people that I think have felt like I've targeted Ziggy, and I have not. I've only referenced. I didn't target it. In my opinion, I feel
I
like
don't even think you said her name, Biddy.
I didn't.
Well,
No, I
the
just said
thing
the
with
bones.
Ziggy is she's aligning herself with bad people, and she should know better than to associate with who she's associating with.
But that's not for you to decide either.
They're all making money
That
off
is
that
true.
baby's back, and it's disgusting. Every last fucking one of them are the same people. You got Messy over there, you got Bullhorn over there, then you got these other. They're all the same people trying to make money off this child, and it's disgusting. They're exploiting her. Period.
And I think when we talked about this, I really didn't envision, a whole big blanket across YouTube. I kind of was applying it in logic to the immediate people in like the Summer Wells community, where it's applicable to, as far as I've dabbled in YouTube, and I guess that's kind of narrow-sighted for me, but I didn't really intend on including or holding Molly to those standards.
I agree. I don't think that there's any way that you could ever expect, that corner, the creators that operate in that spirit. Like, there's just, there's just kind of no way.
One thing that I was going to say that I did, and I don't know if anybody watched my most recent video that I put on my channel, but this is what I did. I saw someone trying to exploit a new child whose case has just been put in the media. Said creator is already making plans to head down there to go interview people.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't going to let that happen. Wasn't going to let them do it. This is what I did, and I think it's something that everybody can do. Call missing and exploited children and give them the information.
Good for you.
Let them know who the creator is and what they're doing. When I made the call to missing and exploited children and explained to them what happened to Summer's case and what this creator did to other families in the same way, I ended up having to get put on the phone with a manager because they had to put this person's information into their system because they're doing an internal investigation into their donations, how they've raised their donations, and when they do give donations, like how that's all occurring. And that's by making one phone call.
Well, that's good. Kudos.
I think this is really good. This is really good information because there is a way. I saw somebody in the chat that said, well, a code of ethics only matters, but we're not journalists or
we absolutely are
anchors, but a personal code of ethics does matter. And I know that every creator can choose what they want to do. But at the end of the day, there is a way that we can work together to, we don't have to necessarily go and have, the bash fest of all the people. There's plenty of creators channels like you, Savage, that,
we make fun of them.
that have that
Savage just has a
platform,
party every day.
Yeah.
That can do that. Whereas like my platform, when people have said things about me, I have been called apparently a viper and a criminal and all types of crazy names because that I go on panels with Penny and Benny because they are my friends, and I just look the other way because to me, if I give them oxygen, then it continues and it grows and it festers into something that just becomes explosive and ignites and it triggers the subs And so for me, if I don't give them any oxygen, they can't breathe. There's going to be plenty of other people that are there's going to be karma at the end of the day for these people that are doing the trash. And, for me personally, I try not to give them any air, because that's how I have to conduct myself. And that's when I say, we have a personal code of ethics. We know what we're capable of doing and how we need to handle ourselves. And like Donald, the way that you made that phone call, like you could have done 10 other things, but that was a perfect way to go to someone without having to go to them or bash them or go over there in their chat and say a bunch of crazy stuff over there. You could just go to missing and exploited children and say, hey, I need you to have this information. You guys need to take a look at this. Like, hit them where it hurts.
Yeah, I think that's
Just
also you
bashing
do
them
that.
isn't necessarily going to make them change their ways. But there are ways that we can work together to make it stop.
Yeah, for me, it came to a point where, oh, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I was raising my hand and it was really getting hard, so I was holding it up in the air. What I wanted to say was, I have two things to say. First, I taught my kids when they were growing up, the golden rule. If you don't want it done to you, don't do it to anybody else. They had a lot of bullying because they didn't bully, they got bullied. So that was a whole nother thing. And I told them, how to feel about that, how they could feel about that. The second thing I want to say is I told my grandson when he was really, really young, he was saying bad things, saying something bad to someone else that hurt their feelings. And I said, look, I said, I want you to go in the bathroom and get a tube of toothpaste. And he brought it into me. And I said, now I want you to squeeze some of that toothpaste in my hand. And he did. I said, now I want you to put it back in that tube. He said, I can't. I said, exactly. The words that came out of your mouth, you cannot take back.
That's it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
saying you're sorry for everything, saying you're sorry for this or saying you're sorry for that. It might make you feel good, yourself, but the person you said it to, they can still hear those bad things that were said, no matter what you say to correct it. They still have that in their heart. And I find myself, I'm extremely, I hold grudges for a long time. My mom says it's the worst thing about me, but my thing is I keep it inside. Sometimes it depends on whose chat room I am. No, that's not true. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say about the moral thing, that if you cannot put it back in tube, then don't say it, because it's just not, it's not proper and it's not morally ethical. And that's how my kids and grandkids grew up. That's what they grew up.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I've done that several times, or get stuff that flies out of my mouth, but I don't have no shut up filter.
well, you know what, Savage? I think you are the best. I mean, you tell it like it is, and I listen. I'm sub to you. I listen to you. Everybody up there, I'm sub to.
Oh, thank you.
I'm sitting there talking, I'm like, wow, I'm here with Queen and with 1, 2, 3, 4 queens and 1 king, and I feel like
that's sweet of you.
And another thing about that is, in the event that you do say something, well, you're always going to say something you can't take back. You can make it good or you can make it bad. You can never take it back. But in the event that happens, there has to be some sort of takeaway. There has to be a lesson from it. Right. You can't just say, well, I fucked up and then move on. You have to say, well, I fucked up and I could be better. And that's the same thing with actions and, not just words. It's like you need to probably take a good look at yourself and ask yourself, are you pleased with your own behavior? And does it represent what you actually feel? And if the answer is no, then there needs to be a lesson learned from that.
Well, since my son passed, I did what everybody said would happen. I went to YouTube and I started watching videos. But the thing with him passing, I found that Benny is so much like my son, and that is no lie. He just can spit a beat just as quickly as it comes to his mind. and the way he laughs and everything. Everybody just sits and watches him. We love him. 4 generations of women
Aw.
sat here and watched Benny. My
Man,
mother, my
that's
daughter,
awesome.
and my granddaughter. We just love Benny,
Oh,
and
man.
it's great that I find this a safe place not because I hold a wrench, but I find this a safe place because people when I say something smart ass or whatever, they know I'm joking. But if I go somewhere else and say it, man, I get blocked.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know why the word gang just really cuts through people's
All of a
hearts.
sudden, somebody thinks you're
I
part of
know.
some kinds.
Somebody
You
told
know
me,
what,
said,
Benny?
What's that?
I am still petty because they keep calling me your girlfriend and they keep telling me to go suck your dick. I'm
Oh,
getting
goodness.
real tired of getting
Trigger
those
warning.
fucking DMs.
Trigger warning.
Benny has to be my Valentine today. I don't have a Valentine today.
I'm just saying.
I'm your Valentine every year.
yeah, he's all of our Valentines because I don't have one either. Well, I got Mark. Mark's in there.
That audience is so fried. They seem to think that we are an item and that I can go over and visit him at any time. I do not know Benny personally.
No,
I don't either.
And so it's like, what are you like trying to say? Like, I don't know. To me, just
Benny is not my cousin, not my brother, not my uncle, nothing like that. Yes, we both have resided in Texas at one point, but we are not related. I did not know him prior to YouTube.
no.
Like,
at all.
I know.
gotta
Again,
make the distinctions now, so they can't claim that we're something we're not. Sad but true.
Right. You know, Joan Springs said something that I really agree with, and she said, let me find it back up here.
Quit
When she
lying, right?
talks about the karma, you know, if you take pleasure in what you think is someone else's bad karma, you have just created it for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And some people were like, well, I don't even know what karma is. Well, do unto others as you would have done unto you. So if you're out there doing all of these hateful things and saying things and trolling people, you know, you can expect that whenever you least expect it, karma doesn't care. It will come and it will find you.
Sure will, honey.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that
Sure
is,
will.
if you want to get good karma, you should do good
place.
unto other people. And like, that's why I don't give it any oxygen, because oxygen is what makes fire get bigger. It's what makes hatred and things grow. So I think there's a way that we can work together to try to tame that, at least for the ones who want to get back to doing the real business of finding these missing kids and focus on what's really more important, because all of this other stuff is just a distraction. It is a distraction, and it's causing people to become hurt, like people attacking my friend Brandy Bradford. Like, that really
Brandy will not be fucked with.
Y'all back off of Brandy. She's my Valentine, and
she won't be fucked with.
She just announced it in the chat room publicly, so y'all see this and y'all understand. Just make sure we understand. Back off of Brandy.
I love the way Savage talks. She says, "Show will, honey."
Show will. That's right.
What's that hood coming out, honey? It's that hood. I'm ghetto redneck. I'm ghetto redneck over here.
Yes,
that's a double.
We all talk like this in Eastern North Carolina. I don't know where these other folks be living. They don't talk like me, but right here in this
I'm just south of you, Savage. I'm just south of you.
Hey,
I'm in the other Carolina.
We're the East Coast over here, y'all. We're the East Coast. We got Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina. Duck, where you from?
I'm from the third coast.
I know you are.
Carolina girls.
We got the Eastern Seaboard on panel up here visiting Benny.
That's right. That's right.
I like time travelers. See, y'all are ahead in the future. I'm behind y'all.
Do I sound country like Savage? Because somebody said she sounded like a country bumpkin. Do I sound country?
A little bit.
As a motherfucker.
A little bit.
All right.
I think I'm the only person who does not have an accent, and I feel left out.
Yes, you do. You sound like, yes, you do. You have a northern accent.
Yeah,
I don't
Really?
I don't know.
Donald.
What do you guys do I have an accent? Because sometimes
Yeah.
I say, what kind of accent?
You a
Who?
Yankee.
You're
Huh?
definitely
No,
northern.
Donald Duck sound,
Definitely northern.
Donald sounds like she's from the land of Caucasia.
You straight white
God.
girl. You straight white girl.
White girl.
I know I sound Southern country, but that's because I am.
Then a motherfucker,
JW
baby,
and
and you're beautiful. So
I come
Oh,
straight
thank
out
JW
you,
the back
sir.
of the field, barefooted, straight out the back of the field. Let's get it.
yeah.
That's
JW wants
right.
some titty love. We love JW.
Let me ask you, Fizzle, real quick. What do you think? And I want to ask each of you individually what you think is the most important aspect of having what's the most important, I guess, law or rule in the code of ethics that you would want to see implemented? What's the most important to you?
I guess. Can I just think about it? Because I don't want to. I mean, I really could give a whole sermon, but I mean, I got to narrow it down.
No, I can dig it. Let's go
Kenny and I
clockwise.
think alike.
Savage,
Yes.
what do you think is most important in a code of ethics?
Let me.
Is that's
Mine
kind of too deep
is.
of a question, ain't it? On the spot kind of
It is a
question.
deep question. Yeah, it is deep.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, if you do wrong, you deserve to be called out. You know what I'm saying? If you're out there fucking around, you deserve to be called out and put them on blast. That's how I look at it. You know, but you got to in turn,
So for you, the consequence phase is the most important part of an ethics.
pretty much. You out there doing some
Right.
fucked up shit. Oh, you deserve to be put on blast, and everybody needs to know what you're doing out there. That's dirty. That's how I see it. I know I ain't got the best vocabulary to explain to everybody, but you know, I'm real.
Right. No, I
I
agree.
just break it on down. I ain't gonna sugarcoat nothing. I'm gonna tell you straight up. You fucking up. You look stupid. You doing wrong. So you need to fix it, or you gonna keep getting it. One button.
I respect it.
That's how I see it.
I can
I
dig it.
respect it.
I can dig
I've
it.
been called out on my shit. I ain't innocent. Trust and believe. People has made tons of money off my fucking back on the shit I've done in the past. Oh well.
Were you on your back when they made the money though?
Oh yeah. All that money
I'm
they
just
made.
kidding. I'm just kidding. That was way out of pocket for this discussion.
Wrong.
But you do have a choice, you do have a decision and a choice to change your behavior. And I have changed. I'm not like I used to be. I used to be a doxer. I used to do all the bullshit,
Yep.
scare tactics and all that as the trolls do. But
The no-nos.
I said I wasn't doxing no more over a year and a half ago. I made a promise to somebody, and I stayed by that. I'll never dox somebody again because I know it's not cool.
Nope. I did the same thing. Izzle, what's the most, if you can answer on the spot, what's the most important principle of the code of ethics for you?
Sizzle or fizzle?
Fizzle.
Oh.
No. Izzle. Sizzle.
Izzle. Okay. Yeah. Izzle. The most important part of code of ethics for me is the beginning. Because if you don't start at the beginning, you'll never be able to do the other steps to it.
I'm with you.
I'm sorry, but that's the way. If you don't start from the beginning, then you'll never be able to get to the end and get to that part of the code of ethics. With me, it's just like with what happened to Summer. If everybody would start at the beginning instead of starting in midstream with everybody's suppositions and follow the evidence instead of follow the dogs or follow the money or whatever, follow the evidence. Mm-hmm. And what is the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. That's many famous words. And I've been asked many times, many times what that means. And for me, if you have to tell someone what that means, you'll never get it.
That's the thing. And it's really such a dynamic, profound thought that it works both ways. And it's like, just because something isn't there doesn't mean
it isn't.
It isn't. Yeah. Right.
Just because you don't see it doesn't mean someone else
Correct.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's it in a nutshell. Just
And
because
it's
you don't see it doesn't mean
perception.
it's not there.
It's perception. It's how you look at things.
Right.
I can look at something one way and see it, and somebody else can look at it another way. And it depends on somebody's mood,
Yeah,
what they had to eat.
and let me put it into a layman's for the ladies that don't understand. It's could you ladies agree that when you take selfies from down by your belly button, they look different than when you hold the camera up above your head looking ass?
Yeah.
Looking at it.
That's
I don't
what.
take selfies.
Well, that depends. Do you look better up or down? That's the question.
Well,
Well,
most ladies think that they look better from above.
Oh,
We know all
that's
about
because
them angles, honey. We know. I
that's
know all
because
about
I know what he's saying. Never mind. I'm not
that.
going
Hey, I'm gonna head off, Benny, because I got some stuff to go run and do real quick. But thank you for letting me come up and hang out
All
for a
right,
little bit.
Savage.
Love you,
Thanks.
Savage.
Bye, Savage.
Love y'all. See
Savage.
y'all
Bye.
later. Happy
See you, love
Valentine's
you.
Day.
Fizzle. What had happened? I think you're muted, Fizzle.
Unmute, Fizzle.
Am I? Is it Fizzle?
Penny. Penny.
Penny. That's what I thought.
Me?
I am
Are
wiping
you guys waiting on
countertops
me?
right-
I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, Penny.
Yes.
Penny in the jet.
Unless you're not ready yet. Unless you're not ready yet.
You're not ready yet? Donald, you said you.
Can you guys
What's
hear
the
me?
most? Yeah, we
Yep,
can hear you now, looking ass. Yes. Let me answer this comment right up here. It says, Benny, are you shutting down Ziggy? I came in late. No, I'm not.
She shuts herself down.
Well, that is true, but she's worth more to the community if she operates on the standard. So that's really removing all bias. Like, all of us are going to be very effective precision tools that are very sharp once we started adhering to, like, this is the victim code of ethics, right? Like, to remove creators ability to voice displeasure in another creator, I think is absolutely impossible. But to get them to adhere to the way we should be treating victims based upon templates that actually work, because it's not about making the victims necessary. Like, you start with the victims and then the trickle up, like, the up economic of that is that it makes the community better, which ultimately makes us all better, right?
Shows people that you can work together even if you have a bias against someone else. When you have the ability to join, arms together, and everybody has their strong suit, and you can move mountains if you can be willing to set aside your issues with other people.
Yeah, and I talked to
do
Ziggy for a long time yesterday. And then she went on later that evening to do, I don't know, because I didn't really watch Ziggy before last night very often at all, if almost ever. But she did a drama-free live last night, and she played funny 911 calls. It was, it was good. It was drama-free, and I was like, well,
yeah,
that's great. That is awesome. So I mean, shout out to her, because that was a move in a positive direction, because the negativity doesn't make anybody happy. It doesn't make anybody happy to do a whole stream talking about people. It's draining, and it's like you don't feel good about yourself afterwards, and whatever. But hold on. Okay,
I'm gonna jump down. I'm gonna jump down because it's too high up here. I'm getting kind of. I have height situations. I'm too high up, so I'm gonna jump down. And I love you, Benny. I love everybody up here. I love everybody in the chat. That matters. I have so many people that are attacking me in comment sections that I have learned to turn the comments off, so it doesn't bother me. I say what I have to say, and then they can figure out the rest.
Yep.
But love you all. I'm jumping down.
All right,
I'm not going to make this a habit.
Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
How do I get out of here?
I'm going to kick you. Pack a bag. You're out of here looking ass.
Bending over.
There you go. So, Dutchie, did you get an opportunity to voice what you believe is the most important aspect of a code of ethics?
I think the integrity of how you hold the standard of being transparent, being willing to use your critical thinking skills to pass on the information that is factual, being willing to investigate and vet the information that you share to make sure that it is not disinformation. I feel like that's the start in anything when you're talking about a case, is making sure that you are sharing the information. And then, when you want to talk about your theories or your allegedly, you can state that. But I feel like that is one of the main things. And the other would be, stop the bashing and all of this other stuff, because it just muddles the case and it gets people off track and it loses focus. It brings all kinds of problems into something where there doesn't need to be that. The distraction takes away from what we're trying to do.
I agree wholeheartedly. I agree. Fizzle.
Yeah.
Back around to you.
Okay. So I think first, I couldn't narrow it down to just one, but this will be quick. First off, I think that the intention behind it becoming is probably the most important, because why are we here? Why did we come to this point of deciding that this needs to happen? And then once we understand the intention, then we need to understand the, I guess, code of ethics itself. And then once we understand it, the next important thing would be is how do we implement it in what we do? And then accountability, holding ourselves personally and each other accountable for, and it doesn't have to be in a negative way. Whenever somebody says something that's a little distasteful or out of character about somebody else, or whatever, it doesn't have to be reprimanded publicly or whatever. You can talk to somebody on the outside, and that's something that I've been guilty of, and that's not, that's something that I don't want to get into a habit of doing, because it's very easy to do, to call somebody out publicly and shame them for something stupid that they've done. That's it's too easy to do that. But what takes more effort, but I think is a personal conversation. The intention, understanding, and then implementing, and then holding yourself accountable and holding each other accountable.
I agree 100%, Penny, with what she said. That is exactly how people need to handle themselves, because I feel like it's much more effective. Like when you go to somebody in private, that shows respect not only for yourself, but for them. And you're giving them that consideration to discuss it in private, instead of, bashing people in a chat or going on a panel and having an argument, because then the subs are just caught in the middle and they're just like, what is happening? And that's why I respect you, Penny, and that's why we're friends. And I think that's wonderful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The thing is, when you like, take for example how I responded to the whole puppy situation. My message probably fell on deaf ears, because it was so repulsive to, one, her audience, and two, her. And that's not something that she would even consider sticking around to read on the screen. It would have carried out a whole lot better if I would have just reached out to her personally. And that's my bad. I fucked up. That was the absolutely wrong thing to do. But when you try to talk to somebody through YouTube videos or streams with an audience, you're your ego is talking to their ego, and your ego is going to respond every time. But whenever you reach out to somebody and speak privately, where you're appealing to their sensibility, you know.
I would like to kind of add a little bit onto what you're saying, Penny. I think if it comes to a point where you can't reach a creator privately and you do have to talk publicly, it needs to be spoken that you both can talk respectfully and respect each other's differing opinions and just have a conversation. There doesn't need to be any fighting. If you're an adult, act like an adult, but just make sure you say, hey, if I come on and talk, we can talk like adults and there won't be any problems, and make sure that it's not a problem. And if that's the way that you can do it, then I don't see anything wrong with that, because some creators don't respond to emails or DMs.
Well, these days, like it's so much weird stuff going on with people trying to hack stuff and all, saying they're hacked. Like, as a creator, it's just not like, I don't put my passwords in nothing. I don't click on anything. Like, unfortunately, like right now, a lot of people are trying to send me stuff and I'm just like, I'm sorry, I can't open it. Right. Like if it's not, I don't want to say how I qualify it, but there's a way that I qualify how it comes to me. And that, it could be somebody that I've never even emailed before, but if they make it through the qualification, then I'll open something that they send me. That's, you don't never hear me talk about getting hacked. I mean, it's just, and I don't, I'm not super sophisticated in that way. I probably should be, but I'm just not. So, that certainly really does, it does shorten the interactions a lot of times, because I get a lot of emails from new people that haven't been with us for a long time. And they're still in that mode where they feel the need to relay the negative things back to you that someone says. They're like, oh, look, somebody made this video about you. It's like, man, they've been making videos about me for over a year now. So, I mean, the first week I came here, they started making videos. So, like Mark's saying right here, you just got to try not to take things personally. It really works. But the only remedy and it's a resentment. When you don't like someone on YouTube, it's really a resentment. And you have to try to figure out where the resentment derives from. Is it directly with that person and what you read from them? Because you're just reading things. Have you ever not read something from your own child or your own family member that, based upon your own state of mind, you took it the wrong way, or maybe you read it the wrong way? Like, we all do it all the time. And so to have these ego clashes with people in live chats, it becomes mundane, because it's it's really just bashing, right? But here we do try to hold it. When I say I lump myself in it, because I'm not the leader of keeping it classy. These ladies are.
Panel.
The ladies keep it classy, right? Like, if it weren't for them, holy good night team strategy, it'll be a real mess over here, like for real in real life. So
I appreciate you saying
I like your new mic.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's just a cheapie, but does it sound okay?
Yeah, it sounds great. Earlier we heard you breathing, so yeah, cool.
Oh, shit. Sorry about that.
Does it light up?
I'm just noticing the mic now. Aren't you special?
Well, I mean, it's I had been getting quite a few comments. They're like, Benny, we love to listen to you at work, but when you have differing audio issues, it's impossible for us to continue working without either adjusting. Someone's too loud, someone's too low. And they're like, we can't listen to you all the way through at work and the sound's the same. So I've been adjusting every time someone comes on, I adjust the sound so that we're all, kind of in the same window.
You're so accommodating for your viewers.
Well,
That's
thank
so
you,
sweet.
Benny.
I'm really trying, I really am trying to get that next level professionalism, and with that, ethics accompany that, and certainly morality, and I'm aware that the ethics and the moralities, they're different, and I guess they should be different when it's the creator on creator stuff. I'm not here exempting myself from calling out people like Trisha and things like that. Like, that's a portion of why my channel's called Blood Money, right? Like, it's part of it, right? So
Right.
that part doesn't change. And I would say that, in terms of measuring my own performance on this case to the media standard of ethics, I feel like I meet the burden of proof most of the time. That kind of comes with due diligence, right? Like, due diligence and the code of ethics, that's all the same arena. It's the same, it's sports, right? Like, out of bounds is in every sport. It's sort of, the boundaries are what make, the playing field or the battlefield rather. So, there has to be an in the game, and there has to be, an out of bounds. And once you can identify that, then you know where all the pieces should be at. In my opinion, of course.
I don't disagree.
Now, in terms of what do I believe is the most direly needed sort of aspect to the code of ethics, it's got to be delivering factual, actual, information in figures in science. Like, it has to be, like, we have to err on the side of lightness, right? Or of forgiveness, right? And that's like, if somebody did something, for instance, with Don, right? Like, there's a lot of people putting pressure on me to try to believe that Don could have SA'd his own daughter. And it's like, I'm not going to subscribe to that because that's what you think, or it's maybe sometimes people want to try to impress upon me to believe something that necessarily they don't even believe. But if I change my stance, so to speak, then it they can point it out. Well, look in here, and it doesn't change, right? Like, do I think SA is a part of the abduction with Summer? I don't. And why do I not think that? It's because no civic or public law enforcement or government has given me a reason to believe that. I'm not going to speculate that all on my own just because of something and I'm not minimizing it by saying just. I'm compartmentalizing it by saying just because he did something, I'm agreeing he admitted to doing something when he was much, much younger 40 years ago. Does that mean because his daughter is approaching that age, no, I don't think so.
I don't think that a jury would be asked to consider.
I don't think so either.
I mean, everybody has their own opinions on it, and they think, could it be possible? You can think that you can think that
in the realm of everything's possible. Yes.
Right. But would a jury be asked to? Probably not. Would a jury be asked to, convict somebody on an assumption because of something else that happened a long time ago? No, because that wouldn't meet the burden of proof, and they would be asked to not consider it.
Correct. Yeah.
And then it would be another thing too, where if they find evidence to substantiate that claim, then it could be something that could become valid.
Right.
But until then,
exactly.
Until then, it doesn't matter what you think. What people don't understand is there's a court of public opinion and legal opinion, and the facts that the DA and everything is going to use against somebody. Public opinion, may have some stuff that deals with the jury, but it doesn't have anything to do with factual parts of a case. When we look at, for example, what happened with Josh Duggar, he had issues with his sisters years before, and then he said that he was better, and now he's in jail for what he did. But up until that point, it's not your place to say they're guilty until there's proof that they're guilty of what they're being accused of. And if you can't let that bias go, then you need to step away from the case or find something else to do, because then you're no longer useful.
Let me interject real quick. And it's not even proof that they're guilty, because the only proof that would exist for someone to lay judgment on is a jury. So we can't provide any proof of guilt or innocence. All we really should be doing is reporting a conviction or a not guilty. Like that's, as far as like trying to start, tweaking and twerking on the evidence and shit, or what we think is evidence. Like, we have no idea. We are not qualified to see or know what's, sometimes the most important stuff. Like, we just can't know those things. We think we can know them, but that's their case specific. They're not the same for every case.
Please don't ask questions about other creators that aren't relevant to this conversation, Bar Girl.
Yeah, we're just chilling, man.
But look, just because a jury would be asked to not consider it if there was no evidence of SA against Summer, if there was no evidence, like I said, that they wouldn't be asked to consider previous, something that happened a long time ago. That does not make, in my opinion, that does not make Jeannie or Mary coming forward for Summer irrelevant, because in my opinion, what they did was the right thing.
Right.
And that's what I would have done. There's no wrong time, or there's just none. Like, there might not be a statute of limitations in Utah, but there's no statute of limitations on when a SA survivor feels comfortable or has the courage or strength to come forth. And
that's why there's no statute of limitation. I want to make a comment really quick on Joni's comment. I hear you, but unwillingness can also be misinterpreted as inability. Someone may have the willingness, but not have the ability. So I just wanted to point that out. Go ahead, Fizzle. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to make that clear, because just because we're saying that if there's no evidence there was SA against Summer, it wouldn't even be brought up in court of what happened all those years ago. They wouldn't be asked to consider it.
It would be hearsay.
But the thing is,
because it has no direct impact on the case itself.
The thing is, like, I don't want people to mix that up with the fact that, it was a good thing for Jeannie and Mary to do, and it was, in my opinion, the right thing. So, just because the jury at this point wouldn't be asked to consider it doesn't mean that it's irrelevant that they came forward, because that was, an act of courage and strength.
And then also, real quickly, to anybody in the chat who was upset for us just talking about sexual assault, I do apologize. We should have put a trigger warning in front of that.
Yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up here in about 2 minutes. Does anybody have any?
Let me get my point. I didn't get to say mine. My thing about ethics is this, and I've said it from, I think, the first time I was on your channel, Benny, is that we need to treat people like people, and with love and compassion, not contempt. And just because you think they did something doesn't mean they did, because it affected Summer's case so horribly. I worry that we may never get justice for Summer because of what's happened, and I don't want that to be something that affects another case. So we need to be respectful of the people involved, until it comes out that they've had something to do with it or they've been cleared. And once we have that information, that's what becomes a fact. And we need to stay with that. And anybody who tries to fight on that, you know, we can go back to say, well, law enforcement has said this. And so we all have the ability to be judgmental, but we also have the ability to be compassionate. And it's a lot harder to be compassionate to somebody who you think is guilty than it is to be mean to them. And I think, you know, it's something that you have to learn to do, but I think the more you practice it, the more you open up your heart to be able to be of service and help in other ways where help is needed. And so that would be what I would throw in.
Yeah. Well, that's
Yeah. And
nice addition.
can I throw in a shout out to Krama Mama, because last night I went in their stream and they were kind of discussing really how they want to run that channel. Adrian over at Krama Mama. And I mean, I was blown away. They did really good. It was a really good stream last night. And I think that it's almost like they were laying out a standard. I mean, to their subs, and they weren't trying to implement it or suggest it across the board. But as far as like to their subs, that's what they were, you know, kind of just setting out the baseline of how they want it to be. And I thought it was really commendable. And and also I think that if you guys can drop the link to Krama Mama, because what they're doing over there is they're taking facts. They're taking timestamps from when, you know, people involved have said this, that, or the other. And they're making a ginormous, huge timeline. And that's a lot of
Something
work.
that'll actually be useful and beneficial.
Right. They're not covering like the new happenings. I mean, they do, but they're not like focused on talking about like the day-to-day, what's happening right now, what they're up to or whatever. They're going back and they're like going through everything with a fine-tooth comb. And I think that's really cool.
Yes, I agree.
Oh boy. All right. Well,
you got something to say, Benny, or?
Yeah, I really just more of, I guess, kind of a burning desire. It's kind of just an example of some of what we will have to deal with, no matter if we like it or not.
Oh Lord.
I'm really tired of this. This is just really becoming monotonous. I don't know how, you know, I'm on a different code of ethics. So this is crazy right here. So now these people are trying to say they've never threatened anyone or my son's grave, and I'm just acting crazy because I have mental health problems. LOL. When I don't have mental health issues and people are doing it, here's one of the 7 picks. Different people threatening in their accounts are brand new and they're taking up for BK. So that tells you who it is and who sent them. This is sick.
Oh my God, for the love of God.
Is she saying that that's my comment? Why would she mark it out then if that's my comment? You
dumb skank.
Yeah, show the name. I mean,
she deleted.
She is clearly on something writing that. I'm not trying to be mean or anything like that.
No, me either.
Because the verbiage is completely off. A coherent person would not write that.
I mean, she didn't she didn't even like really proofread it at all. So it was definitely It was definitely created. I mean, look, and her battery was almost dead. So she was just, she's got her VPN on too. So that's
Good
cute.
for you, Trisha. You're
Yeah.
learning.
You're such the sleuth.
Yeah, I invested in a VPN recently.
I absolutely
We're
did
not gonna
not
go
make
there
that
though
comment.
because we're turning over a
I'm
movie.
gonna go
So
out on a limb, Benny, and say that she posted that because I commented on either "Did you catch that?" or "Say less,
This one
zombie
is
looking
sick.
ass." But yeah, so there was a whole bunch of TikToks that "Did you catch that?" and "Say less, zombie looking ass" found, and they were hers. And in one of them, one of the TikToks, Trisha was there with a message on her screen saying that, you know, her kids were taken by CPS and because she was on her way to a doctor's appointment that she couldn't cancel, so she missed her drug test. So she had a drug test while she was pregnant, but she has 7 kids. So you had 7 kids, but for some reason they want you to drug test when you're pregnant. And the baby that was put up for adoption, from what I understand, that baby was taken from her when it was born. So, and I commented like kind of like putting it together. Like, yeah, it's that one right there. Read it.
Damn, bro.
So she probably saw my comment, figuring out like, wait a minute, that means she would have had to been doing drugs when she was pregnant.
She's exploiting her own inability to parent correctly. That's her. Are we sure?
Yeah, that's her. Always her.
No,
Yes.
I know that's her, but is that actually her situation on the right?
No, not on the right. She's responding. Her on the left. That's how TikTok works. You do response videos. So she's responding. Her on the left. She's responding to the video on the right.
But the orange right here. This is what she typed.
Yeah.
CPS is a fool of money. Took my kids for not taking a drug test because I was on my way to my doc that I couldn't miss. I was preg. Took me months to get them back, but look at this girl. Wow. As something was definitely going on, for sure. Wow, that's a lot right there. Damn. Okay.
Yeah, so she said CPS is full of shit. Took my kids for not taking a drug test because I was on my way to my doc that I couldn't miss. I was preg. Took me months to get them back, but look at this girl. Wow. Please, someone call the police. Do something, please.
Man.
So that means if she was getting drug tested while pregnant,
she had already had a fuck up.
Right. And
they were in her life.
There was no time. Like 7 kids. Come on. She's not that old. So you've been pregnant back to back to back to back to back, which means you were doing drugs while you were pregnant. And they're piss testing you while you're pregnant, and you missed the piss test, which maybe, you can miss 1 or 2, but you've missed enough clearly to, get your kids taken away because you
warrant them to take your kids. Yeah.
And then whenever
if you miss a drug test, they don't care where you're going. I mean, in a case I've worked for the state. If you have something set up, like she was supposed to have let them know in advance so they could reschedule that. Like, still at the end of the day falls on her.
Yeah, that's it. Like, that to me sounds like an excuse to not go in and take the piss test.
Well,
like she was, like maybe she was dirty
anyway.
Huh?
If you pop, so you get tested anyway. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, that's a thing now, Fizzle. So yeah, she scratched out your real screen name and your real picture, and then wrote your name in with orange. So that's cute. So
that wasn't me.
At least
no, I'm saying she did that to you.
Yeah, well, she should have just unscribbled it. She should have left it right there where everybody could see.
That's what receipt.
Oh, God.
She's an idiot. I'm really we won't be able to change that one, unfortunately. So what we will have to do is collectively ignore her. And with that being said, I want to close this out. Everybody cool? Say what they needed to say.
Yep. We're good. All good duties, right? We're good.
Dutchie?
Yep, I'm good. I'm good.
All right.
Good as
Remember,
Gucci.
guys,
All right.
the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. It's Valentine's Day. Make love, looking ass.
Let's go fuck somebody.
Bye.
Okay.